Yeah, I could only find the MIDI version.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Terror Table, for episode 125, which is potentially, I'm going to say, the most important episode of the Terror Table since episode 1. For those of you who don't know and don't regularly tune in, my name is Mitch. I'm one of your regular hosts. Alongside me, as always, I have...
Boozy.
And then next to him,
I'm here sometimes. I'm Diego.
And today, we are welcoming a guest that we have talked about for 85% of this podcast. It's been one of the best things to come out of this podcast. I would like to introduce to everyone our friend from Germany, Andi Preller from Eerie International.
Hello, everyone.
Andi is here in my kitchen. This is the second episode we're recording in my kitchen.
Yeah.
But we had to record this one out here because Andi and Bianca, his wife, are sleeping in our podcast room. So they're visiting from Germany. They're traveling the world right now. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I don't know. I'm crazy excited for this episode. I know this has been a long time coming. We actually didn't think that it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Andi had said that, hey, we're thinking of making a trip around the world, and we thought we'd stop in Saskatoon. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool, but there's no way they're doing that. Why would someone from Germany travel to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan? But it's pretty damn cool. And not only do we have that this week, we are going to be welcoming our friend Lana from Boston on Wednesday. And she's going to spend a couple days with us, but
and it's her birthday today.
Yeah, it's her birthday today, which we posted on our social medias, which you can follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search up the Terror Table. Today we're going to be doing our normal thing. We'll talk about what we've been seeing and what we've been doing. Then we will talk briefly about news. We don't have much news today because we want to spend more time on Andi. And then we are going to be capping the episode off with an in-depth review, spoiler-filled review of MIDSOMMAR, which was Ari Asters' new film that came out recently. All right, so I think we can get into the show. Also, the Terror Table is now proud to say that we are being presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. You can check them out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. They have a website where you can find a bunch of cool podcasts, which ours is beneath all of those. Yeah, I think we're down in the middle. Lots of cool podcasts on there. Check them out. It's a new network that's just starting up, and we're really, really excited to be a part of it. So, yes, let's move on from here. Got a couple things I want to get out of the way. First of all, congratulations to our friends at Let's Talk About Stuff for 100 episodes. They reached their 100 episode mark. I don't have the air horn pulled up. And then, so congratulations, boys. I know me and Andi were actually just talking about listening to your guys' podcast quite frequently. You listened to one of their episodes recently?
I've listened to
most of them.
The latest episode,
yeah.
And most of them before that.
Yeah. So congratulations to our boys. Happy 100. While we're on that topic, congratulations, Andi, and the rest of the Eerie International team for 200 episodes.
That's pretty big, isn't it?
That's nuts. And I think you were the only one who knew that.
I mean, at some point, all of us knew it, but
once you reminded them.
Yeah, I mean, David never knows which episode it is when we start recording, so he always looks it up right before we start recording, and because he's just crazy busy and has so much other things on his mind. And I mean, at this point, I think he recorded probably almost 1,000 episodes of podcasts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with Hideous Energy.
Hideous Energy ran for 500 episodes, and then a few more, and he had other podcasts before that, and special episodes and things like that. So at some point you don't really celebrate every number anymore. So as I said on our podcast, you celebrate your 50th and then your 100th, and then you forget about all the others.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was pretty happy that I was able to make it to record at least half of the episode with them, because I would have been bummed out if I wouldn't have been on the 200th, because I think it's a pretty big number. For me, it's my first 200, because my German podcast hasn't reached 200 episodes yet.
Yeah.
So,
and you haven't had 200 birthdays yet, which is surprising.
That is true.
Is that an old age joke?
Yeah, it's an old guy joke. Andi's a couple years older than us. All right, cool.
I mean, Mitch also only hangs out with way younger people now.
Okay, so we're going to get into that.
Way younger.
Yeah, we got some stories to share today.
We all know that Mitch is into little kids.
Yes. Speaking of little kids, I like that Andi and Bianca have been here for just over 24 hours now, and I think one of the first real conversations I had with Andi was about prostitution in Germany. So that kind of shows where my head's at.
Talk about the red light district?
Well, kind of. I was just like, is it really like a big thing there, like where you can just go down a street and he filled me in on all the history. You don't need to do that again if you don't want to. But
I mean, I know everything about prostitution.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we had to visit a Mediclinic today so that we could get Bianca's foot is bothering her. Luckily, I think we got her the help that she needs, and she's going to be well on her way to recovery because her foot is aching,
and
that's a lot of walking.
Was that free too? Like, or do you have to, since you're from Germany, you have to pay for it?
Well, we have to pay for it, but
don't you get it back?
Yeah, it depends. So I think the first like $70 we have to pay, and everything over that we get back from the insurance company.
Okay.
Which is good. But while we were there, I had to tell Andi that if he wanted, while he was there, you can get a circumcision for $200 at that Mediclinic.
Was this like a special they had on?
No, they have them at every Mediclinic in Saskatoon now. It is
buy one, get one free.
Yes.
Bring a friend half off.
Buy one, get one half off.
It's a referral program?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that earlier today. Like, is it too old? Is there an age limit on circumcision?
No, but let's talk about that for a second. So, Andi,
maybe I'll do it
too
once
late
I'm
to
90.
fix your wiener.
Andi,
there's something that I've never tried in my life. Let's try the circumcision thing when I'm 90.
You can get it grafted back on if you don't
okay,
like.
So before we get fully into it, Andi, are you circumcised?
I am not. It's
okay,
not common in Germany.
Yes.
Because, as I told Mitch, Germans know how to wash themselves.
Yeah.
We know how to be hygienic, and at some point, German decided we're going to be civilized now and do not do any unnecessary procedures on little boys.
Yeah, we don't want to make them elite. we don't want them to stand out too much. So everyone has to suffer together over there.
I think it's just a cultural thing, and so some countries do it and some countries don't, and so it's not common to do it unless it is really a necessary medical procedure.
Well, I'm just saying you're here for another 4 days, so if you ever consider it.
That's why you wanted to make me drunk.
Just do it here.
I've been trying to get Andi and Bianca.
I've seen those
drunk.
rusty scissors.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much I'm a little bit of a scientist myself. I can figure it out. All right, moving on from that. So you've been traveling the entire world, and I know that you've had this spiel pretty much everywhere you've gone. But before you guys came here, you were with our friends Bryson and Megan in Utah. Yeah. And you were in Las Vegas. You did the Saw escape room.
We did.
This I know. Okay, so everyone knows if you listen to us, unless you're new, welcome to the show.
But, what an episode to jump into.
Yeah, we've been talking for a very long time about our brothers at Eerie International. So that's a friendship that we started 3 years ago. It's been almost 3 years now, I think.
Yeah. When did you start the podcast? It was October of 2016.
2016. Yeah.
So it was
almost
3 years.
I discovered you guys before Christmas that year, so it'd have been like 2 months after we'd started, and then we found out that we had the exact same podcast but from different countries.
Yeah, for some reason that December I found your post about the episodes that you were gonna do that December, and it's at that point you still did double features.
Yeah.
And we did a Christmas themed month that year, which we hadn't done before, and yeah, we picked exactly the 4 movies that you had also picked, but you double featured them with other movies, and we did them in the same order.
Yeah.
So each week we just talked about the same movie, and then in January, I think that was the first week of January, we took a week off, and I tweeted out to our listeners that we're not releasing an episode, but they could check out this podcast from Canada.
That's where it all began. Yeah, I remember that. I remember when I can't remember what movie Courtney and I were in. We were in a movie, and I saw that tweet, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I went and listened to you guys, because I have no idea how we found each other fully. I think it was Twitter. I think I might have blind followed you guys or something like that. I don't know how you...
I don't know. I think I probably found you on Instagram, but I don't know how. And then I tweeted it out, and I tagged the Terror Table in that tweet. And I listened to your podcast, and I started talking about it on our podcast. And I think then
I was already listening at that point. Yeah, I didn't even know you were talking about it at that point. And I was listening, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. This German guy, and now he's in my house. Fast forward 3 years later, he's in my house. So yeah, that's awesome. I can speak for all of us in saying that it's been one of the biggest highlights of the show, and like for me, I can already tell this is a highlight episode that we can have you here, because it is weird to have people from out of country, let alone in the country, want to visit Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. We think it's a butthole, but apparently it's all right. Like, people seem to like. It's like one of the best places to travel in Canada.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, and like
Paris of the prairies.
Yeah, that's what
they
people
call
call it. Yeah. So I don't know. You've only been here for 24 hours, and we've just taken you to comic book stores. So we'll try and find some other fun
take
stuff.
To the Colonial.
I mean, we've been to a burger place. They had a great vegan burger and
Fuddruckers.
We took it to
They went to
Fuddruckers.
Fuddruckers.
to comic book stores and a action figure store. So I mean, I don't need any more in life.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take you to a couple more places tomorrow, but like I'm going to try to find stuff that isn't just like, hey, you have to spend money here. But no, it's...
We're traveling the world, and it has been Bianca's dream for a long, long time to do this. And so for the past few years, we just added places to the list that we would want to go just because we got to know people, mostly through podcasting. So especially in North America, we visited so many of our listeners and friends, and it's just a fantastic opportunity, maybe for some a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet the people that we regularly communicate with on Twitter or just through the podcast. And it's such a weird world that we're living in now, because I'm old. I'm not didn't grow up with the internet. So and now we find like-minded people at the other end of the world, and we are lucky that we're on this trip, that we're able to meet a bunch of them. So I mean, if we hadn't discovered your podcast, we probably wouldn't have come to Saskatoon.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. But speaking of you being old, how was the Great Depression?
Depressing.
Depressing?
Mitch is still in it.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. But no, it's true. It is a complete once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I can't wait for us to visit Germany, because that will happen someday. And just like you guys actually made it happen, Courtney and I are going to make it happen.
Good thing is we do live in a city that people actually go to to visit.
Yeah, it's
so
not
you
Saskatoon.
don't have to come only for us. You can actually visit some nice places.
Absolutely.
What's the chances of like a hostile situation happening to Mitch? Like, do you have any hot leads?
You could send he could send me down that prostitution road we were talking about. I'm pretty easy to course. But yeah, we'll figure that out later. All right, so let's talk about the Saskatoon experience so far. How's it been?
It's barely a day.
Yeah.
Less than 24 hours. Tell us everything.
Seen this apartment and 2 comic book stores, Mitch's car a bunch, a waiting room of a doctor's.
We've watched a couple movies.
Yeah,
which we'll get into.
Watched a few movies. So we got here pretty tired, so we spent the evening here eating. Some of us eating pizza, some of us puking pizza.
Getting sick.
And watching movies.
Yeah. So it's been fun so far. But today we went to... So Diego wasn't here for this. Me, Andi, and Bianca, and Boozy have been hanging out most of the day today. And we stopped by our local comic book store, Amazing Stories. Andi and Bianca were in the Funko Pop section. And I walk over, and they're chatting up this little kid. Like, he's like...
He chatted me up.
Yeah, he was chatting you guys up. And I was just like, whoa, what's going on over here? And I went over there, and it was this kid just wearing like a DC hat, flat brim, pushed up, and he had like a backpack.
Still?
Huh? No, no, but he was like a nerdy kid. But
it looked like he was 10.
Yeah, it looked like he was 10, but he had a backpack on, and he was chatting them up about Funko Pops, and was asking them how much, like if they wanted, there were certain ones that they wanted to buy, what were they looking for, and he basically made it seem like he was a black market dealer of Funko Pops, and he was like bragging about how he has like 400 Funko Pops, and he's like trying to sell some, and he's like, yeah, some of these are worth like $300, and like he was just like a connoisseur of Funko Pops.
He was pointing out figures that we should buy. You should get the Simpsons ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, and he was a really nice kid, but he was hustling those Funko
Did he work
Pops.
there?
No. And that's like I made the mistake of going up and talking to them together. And I was talking, because he was talking about how much money you can make on Funko Pops, and I had said that I made $200 on a Rorschach from Watchmen, and then he apparently his jaw dropped when Andi and Bianca told him that they take them out of the boxes.
So should have seen the face.
Like, he was mortified. He's like, "You take them out of the boxes? What's wrong with you?"
It was an idea that he never had.
Yeah. And so I was like, "Yeah," and I sold this Rorschach one for $200. He's like, "Yeah, see," and I was like, "Yeah," and before that, I took it out of the box, threw it in the toilet, and then pulled it out and put it back in the box and sold it. And he just looked like he was about to die. Like, he was just pale.
Oh my god.
And then for the next 15-20 minutes of us being there, he followed me around the entire time. He got me to download this Funko Pop app, And
Which
he's
you
like,
did.
yeah, and I did. And he got me to like, he wanted me to add him because you can have followers and shit. And I was like, yeah, what's your name? And I pretended to type his name and I didn't get it. But it was seriously, man, like I bought 2. And he still followed me and told me I could have got a better deal somewhere else. And then I went to the board game aisle to try and escape him. And he peeks around the corner and goes, so what you looking at? I was just like, Jesus, we got to get out of here. This kid is following us everywhere.
At some point, he called his dealer
Yeah.
to get some info.
He actually said, let me call my guy. And he was calling about because I got 2 Jaws figures and I'm looking for one. So he's like, just let me make a call.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was hilarious. And he's walking around with a little backpack. And then he told me he's 15 years old. And I was like, man, kids are getting like small. Either way, that was fun.
Did he end up contacting this guy and like giving you info?
Yeah, he said no, he doesn't have one, and I was like, it's okay. I asked the person at the teller, and she'll order it in for me.
Legally.
So that happened. Moving on from that, so that's been our excitement so far. I'm sure there's going to be lots that happens in the next week, and we'll touch back on it on the next episode, which is going to be in 2 days. I don't know if we're going to post it that night or if we're going to wait, but all 4 of us, and Bianca and Courtney and our friend Lana will be going to see Crawl on Thursday night.
Sure.
And we'll be recording a podcast with Lana on that afterwards. So yeah, look for that. But either way, we're not going to have an up-to-date episode next week because we're probably going to be tired. So you might get 2 episodes this week, and then
Then nothing.
yeah, it should be fun.
forever.
But let's get in. I want to get a couple things out of the way before we start talking about what we've been seeing. Andi, people have listened to Eerie International. If they haven't, where does your horror movie life begin? Because you come from Germany, a place where a lot of these movies were banned.
That's true.
And how did you fall into it? I know you've told the story on Eerie before, but you're going to tell it again for the tea bags.
And yeah, I think it's probably a good thing to point a few things out because oftentimes people are so confused when I say that I didn't see a lot of the movies or I saw them later or so. And so first thing, as we mentioned, I am older than most of the people that I record podcasts with or that listen
96
to
this
our
year.
podcasts. Yeah. So what you have to keep in mind is for the first, I don't know, maybe 10 years of my life or so, we literally only had 3 channels on TV. They did not broadcast 24/7. They stopped broadcasting at night. And we do have our own German programming. We do not only show American movies on TV. We show movies from other countries as well and from Germany, and we have our own shows. So when I was little, there was basically no option to watch horror movies on TV, and we do have a very different rating system, so we do not let, well, I mean, if I say we, of course there's people in Germany who do let kids watch horror movies, but in general, as a probably it's just the German culture, we usually do not show horror movies to kids. So when I hear Americans say, yeah, I watched Child's Play when I was 5 or 7,
was me.
that was definitely not even an option when I was 7. Child's Play probably wasn't even out yet. So
I don't think there was movies then.
yeah, no.
I'm sorry, that'd be the last ageist joke I make. I'm just bitter because I'm getting older.
We were just sitting around the campfire and telling spooky stories.
Yeah. Playing with twigs.
From after we killed a mammoth for dinner.
We return to our caves. So
I don't know. For whatever reason, I was always drawn to like spooky and weird things. So like, I saw the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings movie when I was little at the cinema. It was probably not the original release, but I was maybe like 6 or so when I saw that movie. So it was pretty.
That's
spooky.
the animated one, right?
The animated one, or I don't know if you know the animated movie. What's it called in English? Like The Secret of Nim.
Secret
Oh,
of
yeah,
Nim,
yeah.
yes. We were just talking about that with someone.
That's a movie that I saw as a kid. That's
Scared the
that's
fuck
pretty
out of me.
spooky.
Yeah.
Or the Black Cauldron, the Disney movie. And I always liked those kinds of movies. And then like The Monsters or The Addams Family on TV. So, and I guess that probably Star Wars might have had a pretty big influence on why I like monster movies so much because of all the creatures. So I saw the original Star Wars probably when I think for the first time probably when I was 5 or so. and then we had all the action figures because. So just to clarify how old I really am, so that people have a reference, I was born in '76. So when I was a child, that was when the movies actually came out. So the action figures were everywhere. So I didn't even know a world without Star Wars. So when in the mid '80s they stopped producing these figures, and I went to a store and wanted to see the figures, and they told me they're not making them anymore. I wasn't able to comprehend that thought because I only had known a world with Star Wars figures. So yeah, we had all these creatures, all the figures and things like that. And then I have a big brother who's 4 years older than me, and it was probably him who showed me horror movies. So in Germany at that point, so when we had a VCR, which was probably when I was maybe 12 or so, my brother and I bought our first VCR together. So at that point in Germany, you had to be 18 to rent videos because 18 is the highest rating in Germany. So horror movies and porn rated 18. So you were not allowed inside the video stores for the longest time.
So that's like the best day of your life when you turn 18 then.
You could rent movies.
Porn and
when my brother turned 18, he was able to go to video stores and rent horror movies, and I was 14 at the time. So I remember him coming home with, like, I think we watched like Hellraiser 3 and Dolls was a movie that we talked about on Eerie International. That was a movie that I saw when my brother brought it home from the video store. And Nightmare on Elm Street was big at the time, so Freddy Krueger was my favorite character, horror movie character at the time. And yeah, I just stuck with the weird and the mysterious. Twin Peaks was huge when it. So I watched it originally when it first came out in like 1990 or so when it came to Germany. I was the only one that watched it. And yeah, so with my brother I always watched horror movies, and then I just stayed with that. But as Mitch mentioned, we had a huge era of censorship, especially in the 70s and 80s, which were in a lot of these now classic movies came out in Germany. For the longest time, a lot of these movies were not available in uncut editions. So something like Evil Dead or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the first Hellraiser movies, you only could get...
Even your movies aren't circumcised. I'm sorry.
Wait.
No, what? They are cut.
They are.
Okay.
That joke didn't work.
Same thing.
Maybe you should not have that second gear.
Yeah. This is my third.
Okay. So yeah, we circumcise our movies.
Yes.
So I remember my brother coming home from school, and he had gotten some video, like copied video versions of American versions of Evil Dead and some other movies. So we watched those. I didn't understand the language at the time. And then sometimes, we just watched the cut editions that we were able to get, and only in recent years they had some of these movies rated again, and now they're able to release them. Like Evil Dead came out 2 years ago for the first time uncut in Germany. Now it's rated 16. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out like 8 or 10 years ago for the first time.
What was that rated?
Uncut. 18.
18? Yeah, because that's weird, because that one has like virtually no blood, but it's still brutal.
I mean, when I watched it for the first time, that was before they released it, I was able to get an American copy, and at that point I was able to understand English. I was in my 20s at that point, I think. And I watched it when I watched it for the first time, I watched it alone at home, but during the day. It was a bright day, but still it gave me chills.
Yeah. So, like you say that you saw it before you even had copies in Germany. Did you have a guy like that guy at the comic book store today that you'd call and be like, hey, you got this?
No, not really. I don't know. My brother came home with these cassettes, and he got it from someone at his school, but I don't think it was like a connection that we could just... You didn't even know about the movies oftentimes. As I said, again, before the internet, where do you get your info which movie is out and which movie exists that you cannot get? So how should you know about the movie if it doesn't exist in your country?
Yeah.
So it just didn't happen. So we just watched whatever we got.
Did that stuff still, like, because, like, I'm trying to think about, like, so the first time I saw Evil Dead was when I was, like, 8 years old. And it scared the living bejesus out of me. So you would have seen it far past that of your age, right? Like, you would have been around 18, 20?
No, I watched it, was maybe 13, 14 or so, because my brother got that American copy at the point. But as I said, I didn't understand the language at that point, and I don't have a...
So you were like Boozy watching Thirst, where he watched the whole movie without subtitles, and Dave Roberts watching Suicide Circle with no... That's hilarious. Yeah.
I don't have a proper recollection of my experience with the movie. I just only have some images in my mind, but
that was just
not that it didn't give me nightmares or anything that I still remember.
I think that was a bad example. What I was trying to just get at, you can insert any movie you want here, but a movie that came out far before you were able to see it, was it still effective to you in Germany, even since you were being censored so much?
I mean, I enjoy old movies anyway. Sometimes I even enjoy them more than the new movies, just because they are old, because I like the look of older movies, like the movie that we watched yesterday. I think we will mention it later, but the
Demon Wind,
the grainy image immediately drew me in. So I have a soft spot for the look of old movies,
big time.
And I love practical effects. I mean, I take a rubber mask over a completely computer generated monster anytime. People might think it looks cheesy or cheap, but I enjoy that look. So cool. I'm definitely into old movies.
Yeah. Next question, and then we'll get into what we're doing. So you've mentioned to me before that you haven't been very impressed by movies like It Follows, The Descent, like all those kind of like It Follows is kind of artsy, but then The Descent is not like that at all. Like, what is the stuff that actually excites you now? I know that we all bonded after some confusion, because us Canadians, sometimes when we call something stupid, that doesn't mean it's bad. And we went hard on that word during Kong Skull Island, which is a movie that you love and you hold near and dear to your heart. Well, me and Diego love it as well. But like, so we know you like movies like Kong, and I know what you like, but tell our listeners, what are the things that excite you these days?
Yeah, that's something that David always says on Eerie International, that he's never sure which movie I would like and which
you're
I
a wild card.
Because I mean, I think at this point people might have the misconception that I'm just not into arty movies, which is not true. Because I do like David Lynch and things like that. And then I will just ask any of you guys who are into arty movies, go out and watch some Peter Greenaway movies, because I have seen Peter Greenaway movies. They're not horror movies, but watch those movies and then come back to me and tell me I do not like arty movies.
Well, I don't think you don't like arty movies. I think you just don't always understand them. So.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Okay. No, I don't know. Actually,
Dawn, but sci-fi.
Oh.
But there's more. There's 99 different endings you can get.
But a bitch ain't one.
Nice.
I looked at it, I didn't hear that.
Oh, now you got it.
Yeah. So I would totally recommend that to anyone who's into sci-fi, and it does have some horror elements to it.
Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you shared that on
What's the
Instagram.
chances of like a hostile
You loved it,
situation
man.
happening to Mitch?
I haven't downloaded it yet. Still got a few weeks left in July.
Like, do you have any
plan
hot
on- I just haven't
leads?
gone around to. Well,
If you so choose, you can start a rebellion.
yeah, I really liked Heavy Rain and I loved Until Dawn. So
It's like 10 times better than Heavy Rain.
because Heavy Rain was like their first like okay, let's try this out. So.
My name Jeff was shitting on Heavy Rain to me.
Well, yeah, but
It's still a good game, but it, like, Less than 24 hours. Tell us everything.
Yeah.
How much things you can do in Detroit.
Yeah.
good
Cool.
talk.
Did you take in anything else? That's it. Andi, we have a lot of crossover, but I'll let you talk first, then I'll go.
Yeah, I have a few things that we did not watch together, and a few things that I have already mentioned on Eerie International, but I just wanted to.
You got to talk
Like-
about it again.
Yeah, I feel that. So we're traveling. We don't see a lot of movies, but we got to see a few at the cinema, and I just wanted to mention them quickly. So we watched Brightburn with Lana and her boyfriend Mike in Boston, and all of us really liked that movie. I don't know that a lot of people weren't quite as enamored with it, but we
I loved it.
had a great time with Brightburn. So that's one that I definitely will rewatch at some point. Then when we met Steven of Let's Talk About Stuff in Houston, we went to see Child's Play, the new movie, and again, I really liked that
It looked
one.
like he was 10.
I don't have the same connection as you guys to the originals. I have seen the first 4, if Bride is the 4th one.
Yeah, Bride's the
So-
fourth one.
and that's the last one that I've seen, and I haven't seen not only any of the sequels, but I have not seen any Child's Play movie since Bride came out in cinemas. So the first 3 I saw probably,
That's crazy. That's
probably
so
as a
long ago.
teenager, so a very long time ago, and only once. So I don't have a huge connection to the movies. But I enjoyed that one very much. It was funnier than expected, and just in general more fun than expected. I wasn't even sure if I would watch the movie, but it just happened that we had time and the movie played, and so I really liked that one.
You got to be more open, Andi. You got to let
that's
new
true.
things in. Travel the world. Culture yourself.
Mitch mentioned that we did the Saw escape room in Las Vegas, which I highly recommend to everyone who's ever in Las Vegas and into horror, into escape rooms. It's 7 rooms in total that you have to survive, and it's very, very elaborate. It was a great experience. We went there with Bryson and his wife Megan and their friends Cody and Andrea. So we were 6 people, and it's definitely worth doing. It's a great
Shout out to the Bryson.
the Bryson. Then on the plane here, we
This
watched
I'm excited about.
One Cut of the Dead, the Japanese movie.
On the plane?
So recently on Shockwaves, Elric Kane told the story that he was waiting at an airport and he saw a tweet from one of the listeners, I think, of Shockwaves, who tweeted out that Delta currently had one Cut of the Dead in their on-plane entertainment
Holy
system.
shit, that's like mind blowing.
So I immediately looked up if we had any flights with Delta on this trip, and our flight from Salt Lake City to Minneapolis was with Delta, and it was a flight that had TVs, because our flight from Minneapolis here didn't have TVs. So once we got on the plane, we immediately checked if they had One Cut of the Dead, and Bianca and I both watched the movie on our
Nice.
separate TVs.
And if you're a Shockwaves listener, you know, like, Elric Kane says, like, constantly, this is my favorite movie, or this is probably the best at doing this. Like, he exaggerates like I do. He actually started crying talking about this movie.
Like
One Cut of the Dead. And that's
crying
the one.
out of laughter, crying
No, crying out of how much he loved it.
Oh.
And John Allison
true.
of the Saskatoon Film Festival that we become friends with, he wants it like that. We're going to be doing.
Cry though.
No, but it's because Elric was saying that how much he loved it. Like it meant a lot to him because it's a movie about filmmaking too, and it like connected with him so strongly. But John wants to show us that for the next time he comes on the show to talk about, because that's like when John Ellison came on the show.
To see that.
Yeah, he loves it.
I don't know if there's any movie where I could cry.
Jurassic Park 1?
Oh man, no, I could.
Have a gentleman's discussion on that.
Give me 2 more of these, and I'll be crying about the Breakfast Club tonight. Like, seriously.
Yeah. And David, your international co-host,
We
had
don't
seen
care
it
about David,
when they illegally uploaded it on Amazon.
Yeah, that was
So-
crazy. I remember because I logged into Amazon Prime. Did you hear about this, guys? I think someone illegally uploaded it to Amazon
I can't tell
Prime.
if you're saying ill or illegally.
Illegal.
Illegally?
Yeah, like
Okay.
it was like
So
the
it turns out anyone can upload movies on Amazon. So someone uploaded One Cut of the Dead on Amazon until the original rights holders told them, okay, we don't want this. So I think it was there for a day or
Yeah.
so.
That's still a
less
lot.
than 24
and,
hours.
and David, I think David didn't at that point didn't know that it was there
And he watched
illegally,
it.
so he watched it immediately when
It's
it
on a
showed
legal
up. So
website.
he
He knew it was
was
illegal.
lucky.
No, he knew it was legal. He's a little filthy pirate. I know that.
And yeah, so he also really liked it, and yeah, we watched it on the plane, and it is a great movie. It is
Yeah.
really, genuinely
We
very,
don't
very
get that
good.
shit on Air Canada.
I've heard it's like the first half hours, whatever, and then it turns into the best fucking movie ever.
That's the thing. We wondered how many people might have turned off the movie after 20 minutes or
Yeah.
so, and because the movie takes a huge left turn after. I don't know. I didn't look at the clock. I say 10 or 20 minutes. It might be another amount of minutes. But yeah, because I wasn't quite sure what to make of the movie at first,
Yeah.
and then there's that other part of the movie. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, if
It's
you watch
great.
it, watch the whole movie. It is very, very good.
Okay,
They
so
played it at a festival in Germany last year, so we have Fantasy Film Fest in Germany in several cities, and we have it in our hometown of Nuremberg. And so Bianca and I, that's actually where we met at the film festival, and we go there every year.
Aw.
But last year in Nuremberg, they shortened the festival, so usually it's about 11 days or so, and in Nuremberg and in Stuttgart last year they shortened it to I think like it was 6 or 7 days or so. So we didn't get all of the movies that other cities got, and One Cut of the Dead was one of those movies that we did not get, and we definitely would have watched it because we were very much into Japanese cinema, and every Japanese movie that they showed that year they did not show in Nuremberg, which was pretty annoying. And as One Cut of the Dead was one of those movies, so we were looking forward to seeing it, and so this was a great opportunity. So that was the trip to, that was worth the trip to Saskatoon just to watch that movie on the plane.
It's all downhill from there.
At some point it will come out in America and Canada. It's not out at the moment, but at some point it will, and you should all definitely watch it. I'm pretty sure you guys will make an episode
We'll
on
find a way.
Well, we will be doing it with John Ellison. Like, he's called dibs on it.
it. Okay. So then on to the things that we watched together, or that we have both seen. Yesterday we watched Starry Eyes, a movie that I know everyone has seen and everyone loves. Bianca and I had not seen it yet. It's a movie that we wanted to, and it's good. It's not quite my thing, but it's a good movie. I wasn't that into the. I think it was like the cinematography didn't really grab me that much. It very much feels like the indie movie that it is. And then the ideas and images just weren't of that kind that really had me excited about the movie. Good movie, but as I said, just not quite my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Then we watched most of Demon Wind together. So Mitch, what can you tell us about Demon Wind?
All right, so let's talk about Demon Wind. So Demon Wind is a movie that I won at the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival, and it is a Vinegar Syndrome release. So if you know what that means that it's most likely trash. Came out in 1990, and I'm going to read the synopsis here because this person will be able to synopsize it better than I ever could. With the need to investigate the mysterious death of his grandparents, Corey and his friends assemble back to the old farm where it all began 60 years earlier. So this is a straight up, no holds barred rip off of The Evil Dead, and it's a trash film. Like, it's trash, but in a very fun way.
Yeah,
I
yesterday I
think
said it's terrible in a fun way. The actors are abominable. The characters are nothing.
It's starring giant tiger brand of Emilio Estevez, and I'm pretty sure he's because he's wearing a lot of makeup, and I'm pretty sure it's to cover up herpes on his lip. Because I had to point that out to Andi and Courtney. I'd be like, "Do you guys see this?" Because it's kind of very well concealed, but I saw it.
Not well enough, apparently.
No, but there's a magician boyfriend who does karate, and he does karate moves on a beer can, and Andi came up with the best title ever for it.
So they all show up for whatever reason in the middle of nowhere, and then
It's got the song. Two
more guys show up in a convertible. One is driving the car, the other is just standing in the car, and they have is it the Ride of the Valkyries
Flight of
in
the Valkyries,
English?
yeah.
From Wagner, Richard Wagner.
I got beer
and he's doing magic tricks, and then he starts kicking beer cans off. So yeah, I called him Kung Fu Copperfield, and he has a tux on when he arrives. So he looks well. His head doesn't really look like a magician. He looks weird, but he shows up in this magician outfit and doing weird tricks for no reason at all.
It's hilarious 90s editing too, though. You just watch him do like roundhouse kicks, and the camera is just following this beer can that's popping up in the air. This is the most boozy movie I've seen in a while. But
why they mix magic and martial arts, we have no idea.
It's just like he's a magician, but he also kicks butt.
And the other guy who drives him, he's the guy in the trench coat with a pump-action shotgun.
He looks like Mario Lopez mixed with Steve Buscemi.
Oh, no.
I think he has some Jeremy Renner in his face also.
Yeah.
So is he jacked but ugly?
No, he's just dumb.
Oh, okay.
He just looks dumb.
Yeah.
The characters.
We have.
That's what we got out of that? Throw them together. They're dumb.
No, well, think about AC Slater mixed with
he's
Steve
ripped.
Buscemi. Yeah.
So dumb?
No, it's his.
That's what we got out of that?
It's his lips, like his little smile.
Oh,
Like, he's
because
got
I was literally thinking like Mario Lopez's
got the
body
dimples.
with like Steve Buscemi's face.
No, he's got the dimples, but then his voice.
Einstein, Stephen Hawking, dumb.
Idiot.
We have 20 minutes left of the movie because I got too tired yesterday because traveling and everything. So we stopped the movie about 20-25 minutes before the finale, which is probably great.
Yeah, because it's awesome though.
The weird thing is they kill people and then they just bring in more people.
Yeah,
so
it's
they kill the first couple and then another couple shows up, which they were probably late to the why ever they had that appointment there.
Busy crumpet.
it's so nonsensical, but like it's one of those movies that it's a fun.
You should not
trash
watch
movie.
it alone.
Yeah,
Watch it
definitely
with
not.
friends and with
Yeah.
alcohol.
Too
probably.
spooky
Like to
watch
give an
it.
example, one of the other characters looks like what Macaulay Culkin would have looked like if he grew up not on drugs and after being molested.
So dumb.
Yes, so dumb. No, but
They're all bad actors.
oh, they're horrible.
So
it's awesome.
Every time someone dies, they all have to act sad or upset, and they're so bad at it, and it's over in 30 seconds.
That's the best part about the movie is that the Macaulay Culkin character, his girlfriend gets turned into a doll
Okay.
and says
And the
something,
doll explodes.
and then the doll explodes, and then it cuts to his face, and he just goes, ooh, he has a sad face, and then the movie carries on. No one acknowledges his death. It's just, I'm going to lend it to you, Boozy, after we finish watching, because it's a lot of fun. I think if you're going to go for a Vinegar Syndrome release, I would recommend this one, because
it has a great cover.
First of all, do not buy it unless if you're well aware of what Vinegar Syndrome does. But if you want a bonkers fun movie to watch with friends, this is one that like I remember David Hopkins. I actually think I turned him off from showing Maximum Overdrive, but I think I shouldn't have done that because Maximum Overdrive would be fun with a group. But like this is that type of movie, but it's worse than Maximum Overdrive.
I mean, Maximum Overdrive at least has good actors.
Yeah, but they're put in impossible situations to try and be good actors.
But they're still better than the ones in Demon Wing.
For sure. But this is like the type of fun shit to watch with a group.
like a
it's
Troll 2 type thing?
It's way better than Troll 2, but like
Really?
oh yeah, like well no, it's not as bad as Troll 2, but it's pretty great. And it's an Evil Dead ripoff. Like it's guy reading from a book. He has a dagger. The dagger is the only thing that can destroy them, the Kandorian dagger. Like it's just
the perfect movie to make fun of.
yeah, for sure. So you want to move on from that?
Yeah, and the last thing on the list is the latest season of Stranger Things.
You share your thoughts and I'll share mine.
So Stranger Things came out at the point of the recording last Thursday, July 4th. And Bianca and I spent the Friday, July 5th, staying at our hotel, just resting. And so we watched 6 episodes that day. And then the next day at our hotel at the Salt Lake City Airport, we watched the last 2 episodes. I loved it. I'm very happy that they were able to do something new and just not retread the first 2 seasons, and they really developed the characters more from the last season. I mean, season 1 had I think they opened like 3 cliffhangers in the last 3 minutes of that season. Season 2 had more of a rounded ending, not the huge cliffhangers that they opened up in season 1. So I very much like the beginning of the new season, how everything feels normal. Everyone's leading a normal life. You see them just going on about their days and their newly formed relationships and everything. They introduce a few new characters, and the mystery is only like sprinkled in sporadically in the first episode. And I really liked that attempt to that season. And then they have a very different structure where they have basically 3 storylines going on with. Yeah, they separate the characters, and every group of characters have their own storyline, and then they come together towards the end. It's a bit of an Empire Strikes Back situation. And I love the how they develop the old characters, and I love the addition of the new characters. There's one character that you get to see in the first episode that I immediately fell in love with as a character, which made me pretty sure that character would probably die soon, because with the first season I immediately connected to Benny Hammond, the guy who runs that burger place that Eleven goes to in the first season, and they immediately killed that character. So yeah, I think it's one of the shows that so far to me has been able to not only keep the quality of the first season, but also do different things with this third season. That it's not only it's cool, it's more of the same. No, they really made it exciting, and I saw someone say that the third season is probably the best one yet, and I'm not quite sure about that, but I don't fault anyone for saying that. It is a great season of television.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. It's like you guys all know how big of a Stranger Things fan I am, so this is probably the event of the year for me, aside from Star Wars. Like, Courtney and I love Stranger Things, so we knew we had to binge it before Andi and Bianca got here, because I hadn't known that you guys. I didn't even know if you were watching the show, but it was very important for us to finish it before you got here, because there's no way we'd be able to go a week being like, what's going to happen. So we binged it in the weekend. It's very Red Dawn, The Blob, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and The Faculty. Like, there's a lot of influence from The Blob specifically,
Terminator.
And Terminator and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But it's one of those things where, like, I was actually having a talk about it today with Darcy, our friend Darcy, and he was saying that he felt that they leaned a little too much into the nostalgia, and I think that that's always been the main complaint about the show. I personally feel like this is the best they've done yet to move away from the nostalgia. They spend more time actually building the characters.
Also
and
weird flex.
I think if anyone's gonna this is not an attack on Darcy at all. I love Darcy. We love talking about movies with each other, but I'm talking about in general. There's a lot of people who think that the show is just like a nostalgia fest and it's cashing in off of that. And I think those people couldn't be more wrong. Maybe it starts off that way a little bit because it's trying to get people in, like in the first season, they're trying to get people back into that time and feeling the way that kids felt in those days, the Amblin-esque era. But this one, I feel like you look at a character like Steve. Anyone who's seen any episode of Stranger Things knows Steve starts off a douchebag. He's supposed to be your stereotypical jock. He's got the funky hair. He's dating the girl, and it's just like he's the leather jacket, like the greaser. And you're just like, God, just please kill this guy. he transforms into one of the most likable characters
Yeah.
on television.
Yeah.
And like you cheer for him at every moment, and he's so lovable. And I think that's amazing that the show has done that. And then, like you said, they introduced another character who I want to point out. Her name's Maya Hawke. It's the daughter of... I didn't find this out until after I watched the entire season. Daughter of Ethan Hawke. And then Andi
Which is
told
a
me
fun thing to
Uma
joke
Thurman
about.
is her mom.
Yeah.
In
And
real life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when we watched the season, and then the morning that we left from Salt Lake to Minneapolis, I saw someone tweet out that because Ethan Hawke had posted something on
Is
Instagram
Shudder in Germany called something else?
about her.
Is Shudder in Germany
and
called
then a few
something
hours
else?
later, I also found out that with
I was hoping for like a really sexy.
Yeah, because Ethan Hawke and Uma
word
Thurman,
for it.
I don't know if they were married, but they were together for several years. So they
They
have
were
two
touching
kids.
pissers and stuff.
They have two kids, and Maya is her first daughter. And yeah,
She's
an
amazing.
actress, and I love that character
She's
so
really
much.
good.
She's one of the best things about the new season. She's the character
She's a
that I
highlight.
thought she would probably immediately die because I just love the
Chowder.
character so much.
Say
she has one of the
chowder.
best jokes in episode 1. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Hey,
That was
Egghead said chowder.
They have a lot of Carpenter
Sorry, that was a Simpsons
cinematography.
reference
we had to
in
get
that
out of
season.
the way.
Whenever it gets suspenseful, it looks like a Carpenter movie, and they have a lot of nods to Halloween again. I saw
Close enough.
Ted Geoghegan, the director and producer of horror movies and just all-around horror guy. He tweeted out a few things, and I saw him tweet something like at some point they go to a hospital, and it's the Hawkins Memorial Hospital, and the logo is very close in design to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital from Halloween and things like that. So I get it with the nostalgia porn. I think it's a valid thing. If you have a problem with it, then that is just not the show for you. To me, and then again, there's the other arguments that say, no one in the 80s had a poster like that because no one watched the thing, and if you had a poster, it would have been folded and stuff like that. I mean, this is a fantasy 80s. This is the 80s.
Those are the
from
people
the
I wanna
movies.
know.
This is not the reality of the 80s. This is the movie 80s that they represent in this series.
Those people are
It is a fantasy world.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the style. I love the music, and even if you do not like the style, they managed to tell a compelling stories with great characters and great character development. So I'm way into it. At this point, I am very, very curious how
this is
many
gonna turn into an
more
all-day
seasons
affair with
they will
Mitch.
make. Because the last thing I heard was that they would do 4 or 5. That they
You
weren't
hated
quite
that
sure
one,
yet. And I haven't heard any announcement yet. But I'm very, very curious how many more seasons they will make.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely like the more
Is that your
the
favorite
better
Rob
for me.
Zombie
But
film?
to me, it just feels like I've been waiting for this show to slip up because I really, really love it. And there's been, out of all 3 seasons, maybe one episode that I was kind of lukewarm on, and that's the one that everybody shit on. But even
The one that they left out of the recap.
yeah, and to me though, I didn't even hate that episode. I just like. The thing is, for me, the most important part about the show is I love the characters. I love all of the characters. There's no characters that I don't deeply care for in this show.
But that's also why you just said they should go. You didn't really say they should go on forever, but you said something like the more the better or so. And I do not quite think that because I think the actors are getting too old.
I want to see them get because they're getting pubes now. They are. So they're
You
getting
want the
pubes.
R-rated version?
Their voices are cracking. I'm like, Courtney, they're hitting puberty, and it's so funny to watch it because I love watching them get more awkward or less awkward. Like Dustin, top 3 favorite characters: Steve, Dustin, and my favorite character in the entire series is Hopper, Detective Hopper. So, but Dustin is fucking hilarious, and he's so lovable. And one of the most heart-wrenching things in the world is at the end of season 2 when you see him with his hair done up. I'm not going to say anything if for some reason, I know Diego still hasn't seen it, but it's adorable.
Yeah.
And he's just I just want to kiss that kid in a non-predatory way.
Yeah, but once they are 20 years old, do you really think they would still
I
work?
want to see them smoking pot on their couch watching terrible
getting
movies.
married, getting kids.
No, okay, realistically, I want 5 seasons. I want 5 from them. But I want that last season to be because they're growing up quick.
Yeah,
They're growing up
They are
quick.
so. I think when we talk with Bryson, it feels like in the first season, because they're
children.
they have long periods between seasons, and in the first season they're just kids, and now they're almost young adults. I mean, I know they're still teenagers, but now you've seen them on late night talk shows and stuff like that. So, and they live a very different life than in the first seasons. You didn't know them at all, and now you know that Finn Wolfhard has a bad band.
He's been on all the pup videos, or a couple pup videos. One of my favorite bands.
So I think they should not do more than 5, especially when they take such a long time to do another season, because I think they're getting too old. And you do not want them to introduce more younger characters. I mean, although there is a younger character on this season, like Lucas's sister Erica.
She's a highlight.
She joins the main characters halfway through the season, and she's one of the best characters of the season. So her addition in the second half of the season is so great and so funny, but you don't want her to be like the main character of the show. You follow the original characters. Even
the bad characters, the evil characters, I love them. I love them.
Billy,
love
such
Billy.
A great arc in this season.
Yeah, love Billy.
I mean, he was a great villain in season 2.
He's the Red Ranger in Power Rangers.
Yeah. And his arc in season 3 is also so great. So it's just
that's why,
great writing.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want to point out, 2 of the episodes are directed by Uta Briesewitz, who is a German.
So we can avoid those episodes.
She used to be a director of photography. She has been on every of your favorite American TV shows, and for a few years now she's gotten into directing. So she directed on Westworld and Jessica Jones, and she's gonna shoot the first 2 episodes of the Wheel of Time series, that fantasy novel adaptation.
It's going to be the new Game of Thrones.
So she's one of the Germans who made it in Hollywood. She actually was a DP on Session 9, the Brett Anderson movie. Mm-hmm. She was the DP on half of the episodes of The Wire. She's one of the Germans that no one knows about in Germany, who's very, very successful in American TV and movies.
Yeah. Closing thoughts on this season of Stranger Things. There are so many, like, the show has always been beautiful. There's so many moments in the show that I'm like, these look like paintings. They're so amazing. The way that they frame them up. The direction is beautiful. Cinematography is amazing. The lighting, and like that's like a lot of it. A lot of this one takes place in a mall, so it's like the 80s like Mallrats version. Yeah. Like, it's really great. I want to point out that I love one of my favorite characters on all of television is Detective Hopper, who is played by holy shit, I can't believe I'm drawing. David Harbour, yeah.
Hellboy.
Yes. No, but I love him. I love him so much, and especially I love knowing that he's becoming a star, regardless of the fact. I still haven't seen the new Hellboy. I know I'm going to hate it. I'm not going to hate it because of him, though. I love his character, and I love that he is a guy who has been so openly talking about on different podcasts. I've listened to so many podcasts with him, watched so many interviews. He's so open about his mental health issues, and he's open with the fact that he has body dysmorphia, and he can't so if anyone doesn't know what body dysmorphia is, you think that you're a lot worse than you are, and you see the worst in yourself. And he spends 25% of this season with his shirt off.
He's become a deadbot icon.
He is a deadbot because the thing is, he's a good-looking dude, and he's making the kind of chubbier-ish guy look sexy. I love it, and his suit, his shirts in this show.
I mean, he's Thomas Magnum on the show.
Yes, in this season, I want his entire wardrobe. I want every shirt he has.
I saw it was basically trending on Twitter that everyone wants his shirt.
His shirt's amazing.
No one wants his mustache, apparently.
I will fuck with his mustache.
Yeah. But yeah, he's Thomas Magnum.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this is the best season of Stranger Things yet, but I do think that it might technically be the best character development, best it's most well shot. It's just so well fleshed out. Everything. You tie up a lot of things that need to be tied up.
I think at some point we will all just get to the point where we do not even talk in seasons anymore, because I mean everyone says it's every season is like a long movie, so at some point we would probably say 5 seasons is a very long movie.
Yeah. I loved it. Courtney and I started it again last night, so that's going to be my closing thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go into some quick news, and then we'll get on to our main feature topic conversation on MIDSOMMAR.
Do I get to say the sentence?
Yeah, that's the plan. Andy, take it away.
So hit us with
just
them.
no, wait. Sorry, I want to get this on Instagram. I'm gonna put this on our Instagram. Sorry, just wait. We gotta hold this up so people,
I actually
this is
thought if I
happening.
could come up with a good German translation, but I then decided against it. So
Okay, 1, 2, go.
hit us with the motherfucking news booze.
Oh, it's time for news again. Nobody's excited. Samuel Jackson may be co-starring in a new Saw film with Chris Rock.
Andy has more to add to that.
Yeah, because by now they actually confirmed that.
Okay,
So,
I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you take this away, and I'm sorry that I keep doing this to people, but I need to call out David Hopkins because he always redacts me whenever I get something wrong. And on your guys' latest episode, he called Hopper from Stranger Things Hooper. So, fuck you,
Fucking idiot.
fuck you, you fucking
We
moron.
finally got one on you.
Yeah, finally. Sorry, continue.
I mean,
That's news.
if you knew more about horror, you would find more mistakes that we make.
That's very true. Thank you.
No, yeah, they confirmed actually. So Chris Rock is not only he did not only come up with the story, he is in the movie, and Sam Jackson is playing his father apparently, and Max Minghella is also in the movie, who you may have seen in the adaptation of Joe Hill's Horns.
Mhm.
And Marisol Nichols is in the movie, who I just found out was in the show Riverdale, or maybe is in the show Riverdale. So yeah, that just came out today, and today they started principal photography. So this Monday is the first day of actual shooting of the movie.
So let's take our turns going around saying what we think about this, which is something we never do in news. We just say the headline, then we move on.
No, that's not true.
I think that this is awesome because this doesn't sound like a Saw movie I've seen before. I like the idea that they're going bold and having Samuel Jackson and Chris Rock. So I'm intrigued. But like I also I didn't hate Jigsaw like the rest of the world did, but it was just another Saw movie. It was just fine. Like it was okay, but they didn't do anything new. This sounds like they're actually going to do something new because we're going to get Samuel Jackson and Chris Rock
He's
in a
playing
Saw
Chris
movie.
Rock's father. Aren't they like close to the same age?
No. Sam Jackson's he's at very least 20 years older than him.
Black don't
That's it.
crack.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
That's
So-
a saying.
Is that everyone's thoughts?
I haven't even seen all of the Saw movies. I was never interested in them when they came out. I watched the first one on DVD and I liked it, but then I didn't watch the other ones because everyone was talking about them as torture porn, and I was just not interested in that era and the whole torture porn thing. And then only through podcasts I became interested in Darren Lynn Bousman, and that's why I wanted to watch his movies. So he directed 2, 3, and 4, and so I watched 2 and 3 shortly before we left on this trip, and I don't even quite get why people call them torture porn, because I like them more than, for example, Hostel, because you don't really see a person torturing another person. So to me, that's a different thing. So I like those. I like Darren Lynn Bousman. So I'm most excited because Darren Lynn Bousman is directing the new movie. So they got him back for the new one. And the cast, whatever. I don't really care about that much if they cast Sam Jackson and Chris Rock or not. I think it was a pretty big surprise when we all learned that Chris Rock came up with the idea for a new Saw movie and they're actually making it. I think that was a complete surprise. And then when they announced that Darren Lynn Bousman is directing, that's when I said, okay, I'm interested. I want to see this movie. So.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what they used to say in the 90s and early 2000s. Whenever they run out of ideas, they just send the characters to space. So the new version of that is, let's just let Chris Rock write it. it's like just as outlandish.
Let's send Chris Rock to space
Yes.
to write it.
In a Saw experience like Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also, that's fine and well, and I'm sure it'll make a lot of money because of who's in it. But I'm fairly indifferent to it because I never was that big of a Saw fan to begin with.
But you're the biggest Chris Rock fan I know.
Oh, 100%.
I have to do this just for David Hopkins. They will call it Event Horizon.
Oh,
Event Horizon?
Saw.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. I'll accept that.
I have two more things before we talk about the next piece of news. First off, we weren't planning on doing news, so this seems very off the cuff. Second off, we did not mention one time the fact that we started this episode with the German national anthem with no words.
yeah.
I mean,
We just rolled with it.
I just
and-
assume that everyone noticed that what it is, and everyone knows the German anthem. Everyone who listens to this podcast will just sing the German anthem wherever they are, listening on their commute or on the subway.
They'll stand up and put their hands
Yeah,
to their hearts.
but that's how I imagine it.
And Bianca made sure that I got the right version. But what she didn't know is that, yes, the lyrics were right on screen, but we were actually listening to like a MIDI version of it, so it doesn't even sound right. Yeah. So that's two things right there.
Yes.
Apparently, David Gordon Green is going to release not one, but two Halloween films next year in the same month, back to back.
What?
Yeah. As sequels, Halloween 2 and 3 to his current...
So that's
Filmography.
Did I hear
super
that
interesting.
Like the same year, same month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So-
within days, weeks of each other.
Okay.
So I can't say if that's been done before. If something like that's been done before, I can't think of anything. But that's new and innovative. But
I've always said I wanted that for certain movies.
yeah, but I'm wondering what could they have to say that we can't wait another year or two for in the Halloween franchise?
Yeah,
I
like,
mean,
is it-
they will probably have a huge cliffhanger with the second movie.
Unless it turns into like part 1 and part 2, and it's just one big amalgamation that's going to end the
It
series as
basically
a
will
trilogy.
be no matter what. Like,
Yeah,
no matter how you
it's
look
gotta
at it.
end
I guess
as
it doesn't
trilogy.
matter since we know now that we know they're going to do more. It doesn't matter if Michael is literally in a ball of flames. He will come back.
Yeah.
So, if I remember correctly, and if I look it up correctly, they released both the Matrix sequels pretty close to each other, maybe
They were
like
close.
half a year or
It
so,
was
because
like
they
6
both
months.
came out in 2003. Yeah, so not within the same
Yeah.
month, but pretty close to
They
each
did
other.
that sort of with Endgame and
A year.
Infinity War, yeah, but they were pretty close too. Like, yeah,
Yeah, but to actually see something the same month you saw the first of
Yeah,
it,
that's
like
pretty
two.
crazy.
That's pretty exciting.
that's exciting either way.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked Halloween, so I'll watch it. Like, I love Michael Myers. It doesn't matter if it was if Rob Zombie did this, I'd watch it. That's just how it works for me. Is
I'm just hoping if that's it, that they're just going to do a trilogy of 3 and be done with it, because at this point, not that I don't love every single Halloween for the most part that comes out,
you love Resurrection?
except for Resurrection. That one was really bad. But we talked about that in the whole episode. But if they're not going to wrap it up, I don't know how much longer you can keep dragging Laurie into stuff. I think you can continue to do things with Michael because it's more of an entity than a character. But to have Laurie consistently dragged through this series again and again, it does lose a little bit of luster. So if they do this as a trilogy, in the end,
She's gonna die in the
she's-
second one,
She's got to die at some point in this. That's literally that's the only logical.
and not
conclusion.
of old age.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to see Laurie run an absolute train on Michael. That's what I wanted from this new Halloween. So hopefully I know that it took her 20 years to shoot a gun and not be able to shoot him. And she like did all this training and she had like all these shooting targets, but for some reason when Michael comes in, she can't
Her
point.
hands were sweaty.
Yeah, yeah. Her knees weak and her arms were heavy.
Yeah.
She was covered in mom spaghetti. But
Actually, I mean, I heard your episode on it, and I have to.
Call me
I'm
wrong.
pretty much I'm pretty much of the same opinion, because it is like at this point she should be Sarah Connor in T2.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Everyone was expecting it too, like for her to be
Yeah.
Sarah. It's like, why else bring her back?
Yeah.
But
I'm and I said it on Eerie International even before the new Halloween came out. I'm more excited for Linda Hamilton being back in the Terminator franchise than for Jamie Lee Curtis being back in the Halloween franchise.
Well, I think that the Terminator franchise needed it more.
I haven't even seen
Like,
the last
yeah.
2 or so.
Oh, so you missed out on a lot of bad lineage.
I mean, I'm the one who likes the McG movie.
I like that one too.
but,
Salvation.
yeah, Salvation's good.
Well, it's
everyone
fine.
hates that movie.
It's fine.
No, that
I
one's
liked it, but I haven't seen the last one.
I think that's because there was one time where we triggered Jesse really bad, Jambi, because he was talking about Boozy's wrong opinions about the Terminator franchise, and I think he might have been talking about us kind of like in Salvation. So I'm going to point that out. Salvation is fine.
Salvation is what people wanted after watching
Salvation was
Judgment
much.
Day.
It was much better than Rise of the Machines and Genesis.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Obviously we're down. We're gonna go see these Halloween movies.
Go opening night, of course.
Yeah. The first movie could have been horrible and it'd still be there.
The shitty thing is I'm probably going to see them too.
Yeah.
Just because now that
Diego
I've
hates
seen,
them all.
now that I've seen like the new one, like the David Gordon Green one, it's like fuck. Well, I have to. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to do it.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like the. Yeah. I don't want to talk about this movie.
I'm really hoping that they're going to put out more soundtracks, though, because that soundtrack was amazing.
Yep.
It still is amazing.
If you want more of the soundtrack, they used some of the unused music cues in the TV show Vice Principals, which I've been watching.
I can't tell if you're joking or
I'm
being
not.
serious.
I'm not joking because it's produced by David Gordon Green and it's written by Danny McBride. Danny McBride is starring in it.
What the fuck is Vice Principals?
It's a pretty funny but ridiculous show. It's made by the same people that did Eastbound and Down.
Okay.
But it's like him and Walton Goggins, like Danny McBride and Walton Goggins are vice principals of a school and they really want to be the principal. So they're
This sounds fucking awesome.
the first episode their principal dies, so they're both expecting to get the promotion to be principal, and it shows that they both just have power complexes and they just want to be principals. That's all that matters to them in their life. And then they get a new principal and it's all about them trying to kill her.
I love Walton Goggins.
Yeah, and he's great in it.
What show is it?
It's called Vice.
What is this on?
I think it's HBO.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I think it's an HBO.
It's
show,
on
yeah.
Crave. It's on
Okay.
Crave, and there are some.
I need to get Crave again.
I've only watched the first season so far. I watched it recently, and it's pretty funny. But there's actually a lot of musical cues where I'm like, hey, there are even cues from Halloween in it that are just like buried deep in there.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's pretty funny.
That was a nice piece of trivia. I enjoyed that.
You're welcome. Speaking of which, we're gonna do horror trivia soon because we got people here who can actually participate in horror trivia. Courtney bought me that, and like we tried playing it with our other friends, and they're like, we don't watch horror movies. Do you have anything else for news?
Not that I know of off the cuff. If you guys do.
Let's talk about the Danielle Harris thing.
Oh, yeah. So, I think a few weeks ago or so, there was already the rumor that they were making a new Halloween movie because I think it was Jason Blum who tweeted something out that they met with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, he posted a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Then Ryan Turk was posting pictures of Halloween stuff. It's like, hey, obviously.
But they hadn't announced it yet, and so the other day, like 2 days ago or so, Danielle Harris, who
Jamie Lloyd
was in Halloween 4 and 5, I think,
and Halloween 2,
and
Rob
Zombie's Halloween. So yeah, I think when they made the new Halloween and she wasn't invited to be in the movie, she got pretty pissed off and was very vocal about it. So I think about 2 days ago or so, before they even announced officially that they were making new ones, she tweeted something like, oh, so now they're making another one and I'm not invited.
She's really jaded.
Yeah, and she even called for her followers to start a petition.
How do we feel about that?
I agree with her.
First of all, sorry, because Courtney's in the room. Jamie, okay, so Danielle Harris is a good-looking girl.
Yep.
She's attractive.
Yep.
I don't give a flying fuck if she's in any more Halloween movies. She was a kid in the Halloween 4 and 5. She's not a good actress, and she would stick out like a sore thumb in these movies, is how I feel. And I don't like they're not inviting everyone from the originals back. Jamie Lee Curtis is back, yeah, but she's playing Laurie Strode. Are they going to bring her back as Jamie Lloyd, who's now been a character who's been unwritten?
No, just let her be. I think they should.
She could be a gas station attendant.
Yeah, they should give her something. I feel like because she did pick up for Halloween for a while because they did pass the torch, and I know a lot of people don't like the fact that happened, but
let's
it did happen.
Bring Josh Hartnett back.
Yeah,
I agree. I love Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I'll agree on that. But no, because H2O is the better movie of the two.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't care. I think she's being such a poor sport about it.
In general, doesn't matter if it is Danielle Harris, doesn't matter if it's Halloween. I don't think that is a very good thing if you want to work in the industry, to be that pissy about when they do new movies and they do not invite you, to be that vocal about it. And I mean, that will not bring you back.
No.
That will not put you on
Killing
their
won't
good
bring
side.
her
They
back.
will not be interested in, oh, well, you called us out so much, so
Yeah, why
I
would-
guess we're bringing you back
Exactly.
now. Welcome to the team.
Prime example that's happened recently is they're remaking Candyman. They're doing a new Candyman, and Tony Todd has been vocal about it. He's like, hey, I haven't been asked anything. Like, Jordan Peele's doing this new Candyman. He's
has
producing.
Robert Englund said anything when they made a new Nightmare movie?
I don't think
know.
you want anything to do with that
No,
either.
he wants to play Freddy again. I know that, but but the thing is, like, so Tony Todd was like, I would love to be involved. That's all he's done. He's now going to be in the new Candyman. Yeah. He's been invited back. He may not be Candyman, but he's going to be in the movie. Danielle Harris has always stomped her feet, and if you listen to her on any podcast, she's so fucking full of herself, and she thinks that she's more relevant than she is. And as much as I love Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4 and 5, she doesn't, like, this is a bad way to get put into a new Halloween movie, in my opinion. And I'm like, if she's in it, cool. But, like, she was already in Rob Zombie's versions.
Robert Zombington.
Robert Cummings. Sorry, that's his real name.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel very professional.
It doesn't. No.
I understand where you guys are coming from, but I do feel like she's gotten the raw end of the deal a lot in terms of the Halloween legacy.
But she was in the Halloween movies when they started going straight to DVD. That's what a lot of people.
That's not her fault, though.
No, but the thing is, like, she's not. It's not like she's Jamie. It's not like she's Laurie Strode. That's where I'm kind of at. It's like, if we're gonna start inviting her back, then we got to get.
I mean, I don't. It's not that I'm opposed to them bringing her back. It's just
how she's dealing with it. Yeah.
How she's dealing with it just feels
no,
wrong.
I
to
agree,
me.
but give her something. Let her be some sort of minor character. It was nice that she was in Robert Zombington's Halloween for a little bit.
Fuck you. Okay, yeah, that's our hot takes for the day. I think.
Yeah,
maybe we'll see when we get on to our main feature, Ari Asters' new film, MIDSOMMAR. We'll be right back after this trailer. And welcome back to our main feature presentation, in which we're going to be discussing and reviewing Ari Aster's latest film, MIDSOMMAR. So let's just, I could say that you probably won't hear spoilers for the first 3 minutes, but we're going to openly talk about this. Well, like, that's the thing is, like, I used to, you know what, I used to always like saying, like, we'll give you a spoiler warning, but, like, Eerie, I actually kind of agree. You guys never do spoiler warnings. You're just like, let's just talk about it, and that's probably the way to go. So,
well, especially because I think most people who are going to be listening to a movie or a podcast about a specific movie, if they're interested in it enough to hear somebody discuss it, they're probably going to go see it first.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're, who the fuck did that?
Dwight
did that.
Dwight listens to full spoilers before he buys a ticket.
Yeah.
But he saw MIDSOMMAR before our conversation. So I know he's listening to Darcy and Jen's podcast, 3,000 Movies to Die Before You Watch. And they talked to
3,000 Movies to Die Before You Watch?
Is this your first time hearing this?
I thought it was called To Watch Before You Die.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, To Die Before
You Die. That was not just you being drunk?
No, and I came up with that name.
Oh.
You did.
Yeah. But either way, we're going to talk about MIDSOMMAR, full spoilers. But before we get on with that, I'll just say, once again, it's written and directed by Ari Aster, who he put out Hereditary last year, which was the Terror Table's unanimous, like, we didn't even know, but all three of us said it was our favorite film of the year. Andi will get to it, but you weren't a big fan. You liked parts of it, but it didn't fully work for you. So MIDSOMMAR, starring Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, William Jackson Harper, Wilhelm Blomgren. I'm so. Can you say it?
Let me see that. I mean, it's probably a Swedish name.
Yeah, it is.
because the movie.
I'll pull it up on IMDb. I wrote that down.
Place in Sweden. I haven't looked up the names.
This is a thing that happens frequently on the Terror Table, and I'm sure you've heard it before. You go, "Wow, they butchered that name hard."
I mean, I would butcher any name for any
Try it
other. I'd say Wilhelm Blomgren.
Perfect.
Or
That's perfect.
Blomgren.
Blomgren?
Yeah.
What he
Blumkin?
said.
Blumkin?
Wilhelm Blumkin.
Yeah.
Oh.
You haven't mentioned Will Poulter yet.
Yeah.
That was next
Yeah.
until you guys interrupted me. And Will Poulter. And the reason I'll get to why I'm mentioning this. We should be doing this every single episode, at least for the ones that really matter. But the cinematography was done by Paweł Pogorzelski. I could also pass it off to Andi to interpret it, but I'll go with that. Paweł Pogorzelski. And the editor is Lucian Johnston. So this is, like I said, the latest film from Ari Aster. Everyone's been waiting for it ever since Hereditary, at least the ones who enjoyed it. And even if you didn't enjoy Hereditary, you probably were in the camp where you'd say that you're interested to see what he would do next, because he's proven to have, well, it's his first movie, so it's hard to say if he has a style or not, because he's only done one, so you don't know what his style would be. But he's definitely one that caused a big stir in the horror community, and people seem to either really connect or not connect with Hereditary.
I already have a question, because you mentioned specifically the cinematographer and the editor.
Yes.
So now my question is, did they work on Hereditary as well, or did he get new people for MIDSOMMAR?
I didn't check that out, but I'm going to check right now. So cinematographer,
It seemed similar.
he worked on Hereditary as well. Yeah. That's the other thing we're going to get to, is that this is, both of those people have worked on
Yeah, makes
Hereditary.
sense.
Team.
Makes sense.
So this is a movie that some people are saying they shouldn't be compared because they're so different. And then there's people like me who think that, yes, they are different, but in essence, they are very similar. I think that if you're a fan of Hereditary, there's a good chance MIDSOMMAR is going to work for you. And if you really didn't like what Hereditary was doing, I have a tough time. Like, it's very visually similar, but in a completely different environment. But I know you probably all know I'm going to read the IMDb synopsis anyways, because I suck. A couple travels to Sweden to visit a rural hometown's fabled midsummer festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. So now we can all talk about this. We know, I know sort of how Andi felt about it, because I listened to every Area International, because I love these guys, and I know Andi doesn't keep up with our podcast because we suck.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
Usually I listen to every episode the week it comes out, but just now that we're traveling, I do not quite have the time to keep up with it. But I listened to the latest episode, and then I think the 6 or 7 before that I haven't listened to yet.
Okay, I'm not on those ones. So
A complete joke. I was 100% joking,
I know.
and I know that that's one of my favorite things, that Andi actually does listen to every single episode, and I listen to every episode of Eerie, and we keep in contact frequently because of that. Andi, I'm going to let you lead this off. Your thoughts on MIDSOMMAR. You already touched on Eerie, but do it again for the tea bags.
Yeah, we didn't do like a proper episode on MIDSOMMAR. I just shared a few of my thoughts on this last episode, the 200th. So yeah, to take it one step back, Mitch already hinted at it that I was not a huge fan of Hereditary. I had some problems with the movie, and that is something that I mentioned on this episode before. That was one of the movies that everyone was already in love with, and I know that people think of me as the guy that as soon as everyone loves like these artsy horror movies, I am probably the guy who does not love that movie. So I was pretty anxious when we went into the movie.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Were
I know
you
it's
excited?
dumb. I know it's dumb, but it is actually, I do feel a pressure, especially with Hereditary. Going into it, I thought, okay, if this is again another case of a movie that everyone loves and I do not like, everyone will just have the same image of me again. Yeah, sure, he's the contrarian. He doesn't like the artsy horror movies.
I didn't feel like you didn't like Hereditary, though.
And yeah, then
That was a really good Mitch impression, by the way.
Fuck you guys.
it wasn't intended. and then when the movie started, I was really into it, and I thought, okay, for once I can join in
On the hype.
with the choir and say, yes, this is a great movie. And then spoilers, so if you have not seen Hereditary, I don't care. When the girl gets killed
like
for
Like her head?
off?
the accident. for whatever reason, that took me out of the movie. I cannot explain why. I have no idea. But from that point on, I was out of the movie up until the weird ending of the movie. So
last 20 minutes.
So I liked the beginning of the movie, and I was really into the ending of the movie. And that middle part, at that point when I was out of the movie, it felt like 4 hours to me. I could not connect really with the characters in their grieving. I know everyone was in love with Toni Collette's performance in that movie, and to me, she was just acting hysterical all the time. I didn't get the connection. But afterwards I said, I know that's my problem, that's not the movie's problem. The movie is very well made. I loved parts of it. But it's just not a movie that I intend to watch anytime soon.
That's weird because like that kid getting its head knocked off, that seemed like it would,
its head knocked off?
Well, her head was knocked off, but that seemed like something that you would be right up your alley because you told me today that you hate kids and you wished all of them had their heads lobbed off. I'm sorry, welcome to the Terror Table. That's a joke, everybody. It's a joke.
I know your podcast. Anyway, so I was not in the Ari Aster fan club immediately, and so I wasn't even sure if I would watch MIDSOMMAR. But again, the opportunity came up when we visited the Bryson. Even before we visited him, he asked if we would be interested in seeing this movie with him.
Beat us to the punch.
So he texted me to apologize. He's like, "Hey man, I listened to your episode late, and I heard that you had plans to show this. You were planning on taking Andi and Bianca, which would have been tonight."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Hey, it's fine. I could have texted you guys, and also I'm like, I'm happy about that because then we could go see it earlier."
He had asked us a few weeks ago if we were interested in seeing the movie with him when we were in Ogden, Utah. So July 4th, we went and watched the movie, and I think I saw the very first teaser when it came out, but I don't think I watched any of the trailers afterwards. So
you weren't like excited to see it, but
yeah, exactly. So I didn't have any expectations one way or another. And I had seen a few reactions on Twitter before I knew that the movie is quite long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I saw one of the movie critics on Twitter that we follow with the Eerie International account saying something that felt like 8 hours, but not in a bad way.
I follow that too.
And I do not usually do that, but for this movie I went on Letterboxd just to see how my few people on Letterboxd had rated the movie, and none of them had watched it yet. So I didn't have any reactions of people that I actually know. So I went into the movie pretty blindly, and I enjoyed the hell out of the movie. Ooh. I really liked it. I was into the movie for the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes that it was. I especially liked the style, the cinematography, the design. The music was great. I also liked all the actors. I have to give a special shout out to Will Poulter.
I like that you mentioned that because everyone's been talking about Florence Pugh, who's great. But Will Poulter is like a big part of this movie that no one's talking about.
Bianca told me to give a special shout out to Will Poulter.
because Bianca's the best.
But we like him as an actor just in general. I don't think I have seen many movies with him, but whenever we see him, we really like him. And his role was great in the movie. I think Bianca said something like he is the comic relief, but it's still not really.
It's so natural. It's so natural, like his comic.
He's
relief.
Not annoying in his comedic way in the movie. But Florence Pugh, you mentioned her. She is great. I was very impressed by her performance, especially. There's this one scene in the beginning of the movie when she learns about so we're spoiling this, right?
Yeah.
About the deaths of her relatives, and her boyfriend
calls her.
He visits her at home, and she's just in his lap crying, hyperventilating.
She's making sounds you've never heard.
That felt so real to me. Because you see people being sad like in Demon Wind in movies all the time and crying, but the way that she portrayed that, the way she acted, not only crying, but you felt the physical pain she was in. And if you ever experience something similar like that, you feel her pain in that scene. And later in the movie as well. And David mentioned that on Eerie International, that he's impressed by how whatever Ari Aster does to his actresses, that they are able to portray the pain of grief in that way is very, very impressive.
I think that was one of the best criticisms I've heard of the movie so far, because David's the only one I heard say that, is that because clearly this has got to be the work of Ari Aster getting this out of his actresses and his actors.
Yeah. So that was very impressive, and there was one point where I didn't look at my watch or anything, so I didn't know how long the movie was at that point, but there was one point towards the end where I thought, okay, we're probably close to the end, and then it went on for a little longer than I expected, and then I thought, okay, I hope we're getting close to the end, and then we were getting close to the end. So it didn't feel like 8 hours. It felt like a 2 hour and 20 movie. It felt like the runtime that it is, which was totally fine because I was always into the movie. Story-wise, it didn't do anything unexpected or surprising. Pretty much from the beginning, you could kind of assume where the story would go, where the characters would end up. But it portrays that story with so much style and like an art of filmmaking that I was absolutely into it. And so yeah, I have to say I was very impressed with the movie. To me, so I'm more of a fan of Midsommar than I am of Hereditary. And what Mitch said about comparing these two movies, I think that is a thing that we could discuss in general. How much do you compare movies by certain directors with each other? Because if you hadn't seen Hereditary, if you just watched Midsommar on its own, if you didn't even maybe know that it's the same, and I'm sure there's people out there who have seen both movies without knowing that it's by the same director, and they do not compare it in these movies in the same way. I think you may rate Midsommar differently if you do not compare to Hereditary, because I know everyone was such a huge fan of Hereditary, and now they maybe think, yeah, well, Hereditary was a masterpiece, Midsommar is good, but it's not as good as Hereditary, and I think that's unfair to the movie. And to me, Midsommar worked better than Hereditary. To other people, not the same way.
It's going to affect everyone differently.
I mean, I think the obvious thing that a lot of people have come up with at this point is Van Gogh painted sunflowers a lot. Do you compare every of his paintings of sunflowers? And there's directors...
That's potentially the most highbrow thing that has ever been said on the Terror Table.
There's directors who they like a certain theme or topic, and they do variations of that thing. And sometimes some movies connect more with you than others. I also like it to compare it to bands. At this point, I'm not really a fan of a band anymore. I'm a fan of albums. There's bands that basically make the same album over and over again. I mean, how many albums has Bruce Springsteen recorded at this point? And Bruce Springsteen, he never made any huge changes in his musical style. And sometimes one of his records probably connects more to you, and then the next three, they don't sound that different, but you just don't really connect with them, and then maybe the fourth one after that you have another connection. It's always a case of where are you in your life.
It's so true.
At that point. And I think with his movies, I mean, he's only done 2 so far, but yeah, as I said, I am at that point where Midsommar really connected with me. Hereditary last year didn't quite connect with me as much, and yeah, I'm babbling on, so off to the next one.
Say that actually happened. Like I love that comparison that I actually haven't thought of before, like about the bands and the albums and everything. But there was a band that Boozy and I both listened to, Counterparts. They're a band who has put out the same album 6 times. And there was an album that you're like, hey, this is the best album of the year. But I was like, no, that album put me to sleep. 2 months later, I listened to it again, and it's honestly in my top 5 favorite albums of all time because of the time in my life where I heard it and like the way it connected with me. So the same thing's going to happen with movies. So the best that we can do right now is talk about how they affected us at this current point in our life and if it did or not. And so you raised some very good points. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Andy, and we'll see you next week. Diego, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure.
So you saw this today.
Yeah, so I saw this a couple hours ago, and I came straight here. I was going to do my joke where I'm like, yeah, it kind of sucked. But then, no, So this movie, I really liked it, but it was definitely a lot more over my head than Hereditary was. Like Hereditary, I feel like I understood a lot more. This one, I feel like I had still like so many questions. Like there were parts of the movie where I went with my friend and I looked at her. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" In a good way.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I like how the movie was. And the thing is, like, I should go back to talking about my experience with Hereditary first. I put off watching Hereditary for so long because I heard people compare it to The Witch, and as soon as that happened, I'm like, I'm not watching that, like, ever. And like, I'm usually the guy who I usually hate art house movies, but then finally I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna give Hereditary a chance. And that movie got under my skin more than any horror movie has in the last 10 years, and it still sticks with me. And this movie got under my skin a lot too, but in a different way. I know we were just talking about not wanting to compare movies, but
I feel like we're going to have to in this conversation. But I agree with Andi that it's not entirely fair, but it's going to happen, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and just based on how it made me feel at the time, I prefer Hereditary only because I understood it more right away. Whereas Midsommar, I feel like I'm gonna have to watch a couple more times to let it really sink in.
It's very interesting to me because I felt that Midsommar was less cerebral than Hereditary. So I thought,
and I 100% agree.
Yeah. So I had a different experience with both the movies. I thought that Hereditary was the even more like artsier one that I didn't quite comprehend.
It's tough to say, but like also like you went about 5 months of listening to people just
talk about
obsess over Hereditary. So that's the difference. Is you at least saw Midsommar within 2 weeks of it being released.
Like, you know, like Hereditary, you know, it's talk about like demons and possession and stuff, and like I connect with that stuff a bit more than I do with whatever Midsommar was. And I don't mean that it sounds like I'm saying that
you're not a Burning Man guy.
Like with the Wicker Man?
No, Burning Man. I thought you'd be a...
No, I'm Coachella over Burning Man. Okay. But, no, I really enjoyed Midsommar. It definitely has, like, Ari Asters definitely... He definitely has a style now. Like, yeah, I agree. Full on, like, the way Florence...
Florence Pugh.
Pugh? Yeah, the way the way she portrays grief is just insane. And, like, yeah, like, it's literally something, like, you could feel her emotions and, like... right at the start of the movie too, it's like fuck, like what a setup to the rest of the movie. I like how Will Poulter had it, like the whole theater was laughing, all 8 of us, but because like I wanted to go to this movie where I knew like I want to be sitting next to someone who was gonna be like an idiot, because like
you went at the right time.
Yeah, we went at 1:25 in the afternoon. But I do. Mitch said it. I don't remember if we were recording when you said that. But this isn't the kind of movie people like that are gonna go to. Like this isn't like Child's Play. We're gonna sit next to people who are gonna openly talk at the movie. Yeah, it's
A24 seems to like have that pull where it's almost like a great marketing ploy, because even like all the A24 trailers don't look like super in your face stuff, so it's not going to drag the people who, and I'm by no means shitty on this because I love all of the Insidious movies, but the trailer for Hereditary did not look like Insidious. Yeah. So I don't think people that demographic is going to go to it.
Midsommar, you don't really
they're even more further removed. Like Midsommar, it blows my mind if there's any person who's not really into movies going to be like, I want to see this one. Yeah. It just seems like it's such a niche movie that it's kind of mind blowing that it got a wider release.
And to be honest, if I hadn't seen and loved Hereditary, I probably wouldn't have cared about Midsommar. Like, but as soon as I saw Midsommar, like the trailer and who it was by, I was like, okay, I got to give this a chance. I think Ari Aster has like, he's got his. Is this only his second movie?
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's already got his pacing down.
He's done shorts a bunch and like half-hour shorts. So Bloody Disgusting recently put up an article where they put, I think, like 5 or 6 of his shorts on there. I haven't watched them yet, but they made them seem like he already was like
he had these thoughts
all
in
these
this is his thing.
Topics.
Yeah, these topics are his thing.
Because you could definitely like he has his moments where like the violence, for example, it's short but it's short and sweet.
It's pretty in your face.
Yeah,
though.
it's like it happens in an instant, but you remember it forever.
He wants to scar you.
Yeah.
He should, and because they're traumatizing situations.
Like we've already spoiled some stuff. The cliff scene. Like when the first woman falls, that was bad. But then when she bounces and you see someone, I was like, holy shit!
His movies feel more like dramas, but then they have the visceral violence that
And
the
it's
camera
visceral.
does not go
Well, that's
away.
because it's elevated horror.
True.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
elevated.
exactly.
It's far above all of the other
Yeah.
plebes.
Yeah.
But no, like shit like that is it's. I feel it's more effective rather than having something like bam, bam, bam in your face all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like it sticks with you more because it like you feel it. It's just I don't know.
On the other hand, what sticks with you more after the movie is, I think, the personal grief than the violence.
Yep.
The violence is visceral when
Yeah.
you experience it, but what you take away after 2.5 movies when you leave the theater is the emotions.
It's the emotion, the grief, and the tone. The
Yeah.
overall tone is what I took away mostly too. Especially because in this movie, like the tone's all over the place
Yeah.
and I think that's done on purpose. Like it like with Will Poulter's comedic timing and everything. Yeah, I thought the cinematography was and the locations were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, where was this movie shot?
Sweden.
Probably. I
Yeah,
didn't
but
even
it
look it
was-
up, but
I'll look it up.
yeah.
right now.
Gorgeous.
It looked like Saskatchewan for a lot of it.
Yeah, that's
Like
fair.
there's some beautiful parts of Saskatchewan, but
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
little bit like this is like Saskatchewan peak Saskatchewan.
that is also something that makes this movie different from a lot of the other horror movies that we watch. It is so bright.
It's
Everything is happening in
almost all
sunlight.
daytime. Yeah, yeah.
And wonderful colors. There's the green of the fields and
The dancing and the music
Yeah,
and
and the
Spain,
flowers, especially her flower
Russia,
dress towards
Poland.
the end is amazing.
Yeah.
Italy, India, Hungary. What the fuck? There's
all
so
over
many
Europe.
theming
You
filming
filmed
locations.
everywhere.
And Canada,
Oh.
Croatia. Maybe it was in Saskatchewan. No.
But no, yeah, like, and it's same thing you said, like, when you feel that part of the movie where, like, oh, it's starting to wrap up, but then it doesn't. Yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit because I almost felt like the Hereditary type scenario was coming on. Where also in the last 20 minutes we're gonna get insane, and they did.
Yeah, it
They
felt
did,
very
yeah.
close to the ending
Yeah.
of Hereditary.
But then,
visually.
but I thought that was gonna happen about 20 minutes sooner, and then it kind of didn't. But then when it did happen, it was just like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, me and my friend, like we left the theater feeling like we were like, holy shit, like in a good way. But we were,
Yeah.
but I just have so many questions that I need to see this movie again. But overall, no, I love this movie. It's 5 years ago, this would not be the kind of movie I thought I would enjoy. But I've kind of started digging more cerebral.
I'm going to be completely honest. I thought about calling this episode off and texting you, be like, Diego, don't go, because I thought that you would fucking hate this.
Really?
I thought you would hate it.
No, I loved it.
And that's what, like, I was worried about that, and I was like, I know, because, like, we got Crawl coming up, and, like, you're going to the movies a lot, and I know that you don't, like, love going to every single thing, and I was going to be like, Diego's going to fucking hate this.
No, I loved it.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. It's
Boozy.
shitty.
Can we let Boozy
Sorry,
go?
don't want to
Okay.
interrupt you,
And then
just-
I'll get my point out, and I'll take 20 minutes like you fuckers do. I'm just kidding. No, but then we'll all talk about it, and then we'll close it up.
I loved it.
Okay, Diego loved it. Boozy,
Oh no.
Oh no.
go hard.
Um.
You didn't like it.
No, it's not that I didn't like it, but okay, let's talk about because I know we said we're not supposed to compare them, but we have to. Hereditary is dark and brooding. MIDSOMMAR is bright and colorful, but there is tons of attempts to make it a darker film, and that's some of the parts that I didn't like. Honestly, I thought this was an awesome movie. I had such a fun time going through the whole thing.
It sounded like you hated
Yeah.
it, and then you're like, it's awesome.
I think it's that tier of movie where I can say that it's awesome, but I also have a lot of complaints about it. That's not saying that I didn't like it. Just watching it right from the start, once you finish watching it, you start to figure out things that Ari Aster likes. Ari Aster likes disfigurement.
Grief.
Ari Aster likes spirits of some kind or contacting spirits of some kind. He's really into cult stuff, and he's really into long tracking shots. So you're watching these films, you're going to get a buttload of all of these things, and sometimes you feel like maybe they're not necessary, but that's okay. You can keep going with it.
Also symmetry.
Symmetry, yes,
images.
very.
Yeah.
He loves everything being
That is
perfectly
a Peter
symmetrical.
Greenaway thing. I heard, I think it was on the Mick Garris podcast probably when he said that he was very much into Peter Greenaway, and I actually at
That's who
university.
you brought up today.
and
You're like,
I'm
RT. I
yeah,
like Peter Greenaway. I'm Andy.
Actually, I wrote a thesis on Peter Greenaway at the university. I did a presentation on him.
flex.
So, symmetry is a I mean, I could also bring up Kubrick, for
very
symmetry.
much. Yeah, very much.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know I'm joking when I do that impression. You did an impression of me, I had to hit you. Sorry, Woozy, continue.
But when everyone went and watched Hereditary, you didn't know what you were expecting the whole time. And if you go back and rewatch Hereditary, it drops all these things for you to find later, especially on repeat viewings, where going in to watch this movie, you know right away to look for those things, and they popped up everywhere right from the start. You're talking about like the artwork that's in
the rooms and everything.
Yeah, the rooms, all the artwork, all the small pieces. It was really interesting that it opened up with kind of like a fable entrance, and then went from there. I did like the setup. I'm gonna say that I understand why they had the whole suicide oxygen thing, but at the same time, it never got called back enough, other than the one time with the rock scene where you see her against the rock as well, like the sister. That felt like it was supposed to be bigger, and I understand that it's a tool to get people where they needed to go, but just the scope of it and how much they went into it and how much they showed, it felt like there would have been more connection. Like the whole time, I felt like there was supposed to be a connection where the sister had something to do with MIDSOMMAR the whole time. That felt like, you know, like she was going to. I can't. How many movies have done that where it's like, oh, so and so was in a cult, and I have to go see why.
Yeah.
That's
the
where
sacrament.
That's the sacrament.
Yeah, that's where it felt like it was going, but it never went there enough.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's actually something that I like about his filmmaking. That is just the backdrop, and I like movies that don't give you explanation for everything, and that is probably something that the character of Danny is the name, right? Florence Pugh. She doesn't know everything about what went on in that house when her sister decided to take her own life and take the parents with her, and that's why the movie doesn't give you these answers. And that's something that I really like, because it makes it more mysterious, and it makes her grief also more believable, because she doesn't have any answers for what just happened. And
I'll say I haven't gotten to my points, but I 100% agree with you on that. But I also understand exactly where you're coming from, and it seems like, because what I always do, and I'm not gonna lie, like I actually did not know the Rotten Tomato score going into this movie. It's been one of the few times actually where I just like I honestly saw one trailer, I knew nothing, and I was like, I'm trying my hardest to go in, and I did. But afterwards, I looked up, and I can understand that complaint, and that seems to be something that bothered a lot of people, and I understand why. But I'm in your camp.
What's the rating? I have no idea.
83 or like 80.
That's not bad.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's definitely not bad. But sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I can totally understand.
It's not. I had no problems with it happening. It felt that they made such a big deal of it, and
it's a pretty extravagant suicide.
Exactly. It's not something where they show like like a car accident or something going on from there, or the house being on fire, and just have wanting the firefighters say like, no one made it out, or that sort of thing. They deliberately showed you so much, to the point where you're seeing the sister's face, changing to like a blue from the you know what I mean, from the carbon dioxide,
and her eyes rolling and shit.
It felt like they focused on that so much that to have it not really be called back is a weird step for me, where I was stuck to that, because it is such a big scene. I was stuck to that the whole time, going like, where is a little bit more of a payoff? And maybe that's my own problem, is that I want everything to be blocked into like, this is why this happened, and featured that way. It was a fun story when they got there. I mean, I really liked that they didn't show a lot of them actually traveling, kind of like how like
a montage.
This is a weird callback, but like
you're gonna hear like Sweet Home Alabama.
it wasn't like American Werewolf in Paris, where they have to make a big deal of them like, traveling.
We're going to get laid.
Yeah, they didn't make a big deal of that, and I didn't have to see all that.
Sorry to interrupt again, but that to me was one of the best scenes in the movie, when you see her going to the bathroom,
the transition.
They're on the plane, because you don't need all of it. There was probably an argument when they realized that she is actually going on the trip, and they didn't want her to go on the trip, and that to me was like perfect cinema. That is movie making.
That's magic.
That editing was so fantastic, and that was one of the early scenes where I was really getting into the movie when I realized, okay, that's what we're doing now.
You gotta watch Hereditary again. He does that a lot in it.
I said that earlier in this episode. On a rewatch, I might have a better connection with the movie. That's totally possible.
No, I'm with you though. That moment was like I'll get to it when I get to my point, but like when that happened, I was just like, oh my god,
that was exciting.
This is a guy who has his vision, and he's going like, yeah. Sorry,
you learn so much in that scene because she's still in the same place that she was probably weeks before when we last saw her a second ago in that apartment, and now we see her in that bathroom on the plane, and we know, okay, she's still not over this. There's a weird relationship between all the guys and her. The boyfriend initially wanted to dump her. His friends do not even like the relationship, and now they are stuck on the plane and they're going to Sweden together. There's so much in this one tiny edit, and that is what makes movies specific.
Yeah,
that is so different from literature or music or theater. That is movie making. That's the magic of movies.
I agree.
Okay,
keep going.
Going on from that, you have that connection that all of the friends have with the boyfriend, and then the girlfriend's kind of on the fringes, and like you'd said, that they don't all see eye to eye, or there's quite a bit of friction, and you don't pick up on any friction between the friends, and they do mention the thesis once before. That's also a thing where I had concerns about, is having that whole thesis about, I don't know what I'm going to do mine on, and I'm going to do it on this, and the other guy, you've clearly set up that he's been preparing for this thing, and I understand why they had that in there to get certain characters where they needed to be, but it basically went from zero hostility between two characters to boiling over really quickly, which is another thing where I would have liked this movie is 2 hours and 24 minutes long. I feel like you could have added a couple more minutes or seconds to make that feel a little more organic,
or you wanted to replace a moment. Did you want it longer?
No.
Okay.
It did feel like I loved how everything was shot, and I do love that they went through all these very meticulous ceremonies, but there are certain times where it's like, I don't need to see them carry her all the way across the lawn. I get that she's going there. That's totally fine. Cut 2 minutes out there. Give me 2 more minutes of these two Americans having an argument. And then right when you get there, like right when they all first get together, with the clan or cult or whatever it is, and they're saying welcome, and then when they get to the main girl, I can't remember her name,
Florence Pugh,
they say welcome home. Right away you're looking to pick these things up, whereas when you're watching Hereditary, you didn't think about these things more. You don't think about like why they said that, whereas this, you're feeling like you're constantly picking up these breadcrumbs along the way, or like when they pass the bear and then you
that's
see
one
later,
of my favorite moments in the movie.
Why is that bear there? And just like, don't worry
about it. Are we
going
to ignore the fact that there's a bear there?
Yeah.
Are we going to ignore this bear? And oh man, that was like so many people are saying this is a comedy, and you guys agreed, said what I was going to say, and it's like, this is not a fucking comedy.
No,
but there is some
comedic moments.
There's some funny moments, but that was the only moment where I actually like chuckled loud.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't even think that it's a comedic moment. It's like a surreal.
It's a
moment.
It's a surreal, but it's also so real.
Yeah,
because it's like, that is 100% what I do. Is I'd be like, okay, we're walking around, but it's like, yo, there's a fucking bear here.
I mean, there's comedy in the surrealism of it, but I would never call it a comedy.
No, so many people are saying it's so funny, and I'm like, no. I'm like, it's funny because it's extreme, and you're like, you can't help but laugh sometimes.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But
and sorry, just go on. They set up right from the start. Like you can, what I was saying about breadcrumbs, you kind of saw where they were talking about. They did mention the 9, which I was like, Slipknot, that's cool or whatever. they actually did mention that thing about like the 9, and then later on, you're counting how many Americans are there or how many.
I didn't do that.
I was doing it too. I was like, okay, there's 7. So where are they picking up the rest of these people from?
Maybe it's like Demon Wind where they show up when they die.
I just wanted to say that.
But like I was waiting for a lot of these things, and then you're kind of figuring out pretty quick when people start going missing and that sort of thing. Is very interesting. If I can skip towards the end, is I liked the ending, but I was expecting something not on a Hereditary level, but around that form, because it does feel like these share quite a bit of the same universe. where I was feeling like we were conjuring kind of a spirit, whereas if you look at the grand scheme of it, it's just to continue the Midsommar and the Bloodline, where that it didn't feel like the stakes were as high.
But before you say anything, Mitch, do you think, all of you, that if Midsommar had come out
first?
No, later, and in the sense that there's only a year between these
More of a
movies.
gap.
Yeah.
That cooling off period.
Yeah.
Would that have made a difference?
I think it would have made a difference, but in the end, I would still have the same opinion that I have now. But I'm also confident that I'm going to contradict myself in a couple of years. I know I've said that a lot, but I am confident that I'm going to feel probably a little bit different about this movie in 2 years from now. But yeah, it's pretty close.
Now,
He didn't give us any time to be like, holy shit, the next Ari Aster movie. It's not like even like Robert Eggers is doing like the Lighthouse movie with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And like that, I'm so excited for that. But The Witch was 2 years ago, so I've had time to like, really digest The Witch, and I'm really excited for that movie now. This one, it's just like, holy fuck, he's already got another movie coming out. So he is like, there's definitely reasons why people would compare the two. And yeah, are you?
Yeah. Just before I get done, not as much of a horror movie as Hereditary. We have to compare the two. Unfortunately, you're talking about The Light and the Dark. This is a great film. I definitely want to watch it again. I wasn't bored going through and they were doing all the ceremony stuff. I thought that was really interesting. I was always wanting to see what came next. It just felt like the very end of the film, I didn't quite get what I wanted in terms of a payoff. One other question I had before I'll pass it off. Why did they put the scissors under the baby's pillow?
No one knows. I've talked to so many people and we can't fucking figure it out. I'm not smart enough for it.
I thought there was going to be a callback to it. There really isn't.
I need to look it up. I still haven't looked it up, but like I've talked to a few people being like, why did that happen? And there's going to be an answer, clearly.
Yeah.
Like there will be.
Like,
So
I
that's
didn't know
clearly,
if it was just me being like,
that's
I'm
clearly
too stupid to figure it out.
And that's
like,
why I'm fully admitting that I did not pick up everything.
Mhm.
But that's definitely one I didn't pick up.
Yeah, and then, like, sorry, just before you get yours, I know we talked about, like, all the different things that he likes to do in the disfigurement thing, and I understand that one character they had. I felt like, even watching the trailer, there was going to be more of an impact than that, than to have that character who was...
Oh, the goblin?
Yeah,
It's
like,
not a goblin.
interpreting the script and stuff, but
It's a
just
child of
doodling
incest.
on it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for, like,
Yeah.
what... Is this a reincarnation of somebody? Is this something that fucked up? And they were kind of just like, yeah, sometimes we inbreed.
Yeah.
That's all I got out of
Even
it.
during that sex scene,
Just hanging in the
he
corner.
was just sitting there, like, okay.
But again, that's something that I love, that he didn't play a bigger role. So he was there. He's this mysterious character. You get kind of a backstory.
Wasn't that a she? Or is it a
Reuben?
he?
I think it was Reuben, right?
It was a boy. It had to have been a boy.
Yeah, Reuben.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, but like we just said, like, he's interpreting the script and going to be putting it in this book. That's a fairly large part of their process. So
Yeah.
you think as an audience you would get a little bit of something of a payoff because you do watch him scribble in the book, and then later on you see that that's the actual book. I just I understand that it's a little bit of a misdirect, but I wanted a little bit more of that.
Yeah, get it, Mitch.
Okay, so this is one where, like, when you started talking, the more you kept talking, I'm like, okay, I'm at about a 98% exactly with Boozy, and it dropped down to about a 75%, and I'm with you, but, like, I agree with you in a lot of ways. I didn't love this movie, but I liked it quite a bit. But this is very much my shit. So it's one of those movies where I'm like, if anyone here who is listening, or people have listened to me at all, you know, I love The Wicker Man. I loved it. And like, this movie is basically a reimagination of The Wicker Man in so many ways. It has like I think it's more comparable to The Wicker Man than Hereditary because it's essentially the same story.
It
but
even has a man and a bear.
it does. And it's clear that
And
Ari
fire.
Aster loves The Wicker Man. This is almost like kind of like a love note to it. And while I'm with Andy, I'm also with Bianca. Andy, I'm also with Boozy. Sorry, I'm also with the bees mixed up. But Andy and Boozy, like, you said that it shouldn't be compared to Hereditary because it's kind of unfair to it, and I agree with you. But at the same time, what you had said, like, I think that if no one would have told me that this was an Ari Aster movie, and clearly I've always talked about how stupid I am on the show, I think within 10 minutes I could have been like, this is an Ari Aster movie.
I don't even want to say that it should not be compared to Heredity.
They're very different.
I think it's worth a conversation how we view movies from the perspective how much do we know about the director? Have we seen his work before?
That's what made Hereditary so impactful.
Changes your perspective on the movie, and I think it's an interesting, just a thought experiment. Let's put us in the mindset if we hadn't seen Hereditary and watched Midsommar on its own.
And
to bring Diego into this right now, and I know I'm not sure entirely how you feel. I know how Boozy feels for sure, but it's the same with Marvel movies. We've been doing it since the beginning of Iron Man, where it's like every time a Marvel movie comes out, people, it's like their first instinct is, it's not like, oh, that was a great movie. It was like, but was it better than this one? And that's fine because, well, that's just what people do. It's human nature. But Hereditary had such an impact on so many people that it's going to be impossible to not compare it. But I think it's so similar in so many ways. But it's also entirely no. I think it's more similar than different. And I think people are saying it's so different. And it's got the same themes. It's shot the exact same way. The actors are dealing with things the same way. It's all about grief. It's all about like bad relationships.
The thing is, what we thought you were gonna say before when you said, "What if this came out before Hereditary?" I think
not even before Hereditary, just a longer time after Hereditary.
Yeah. But that's we thought you were gonna say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
If this were to have come out before Hereditary, and I ended up watching this, I don't think I would have given Hereditary a chance.
Yeah,
I
totally agree.
That's the thing. Is like I enjoyed this movie only because I kind of I knew what the pacing was going to be, and I understood it, and it Hereditary kind of like helped this movie flow better for me. But
Hereditary is a safer choice.
Yeah. But I was still, I had questions and everything. But like the good thing is, since I saw Hereditary, the questions I have for this movie are good questions. I'm not like, oh, I fucking understand this movie's stupid. But like if I would have seen this before Hereditary, I would have been like, I don't get it.
There are and that's like, it's obviously clearly a different movie, and this might irritate listeners that we're spending so much time talking about this, but I think it's, like you said, I think it's an important conversation to have, and that's what might make it more interesting to listen to a couple fuckheads from Saskatchewan and one super nice, intelligent guy from Germany talking about these movies. But like the comparison to movies, because even I think that there's a lot of The Witch in this movie. Like, and I think that there's a lot of people. I can see people
naked old ladies.
Yeah.
Well, that I think there's I could see so many people hating this movie, but
just soggy tits everywhere.
So that's what Bianca always says. It's not an A24 movie if there's no naked people in it.
Exactly, and that's clear. I know I haven't read any of the articles yet because I've just been too busy to I haven't had a time to sit down and really read all of the think pieces about Midsommar, and that's something I really enjoyed about doing after Hereditary. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want to, because you have a ton of points. I know I've seen.
This is the first episode where you guys are talking more than I am.
I see your notes. I see
you guys are cutting me off.
But Diego brought up a great point. I think it was Diego. Is if we had watched Midsommar first, would we be on that same level where we how we feel about Ari Aster? Because I can look at Midsommar in a vacuum as this was a very artsy, interesting movie, and the cinematography made it 10 times better. If this was shot half-assed, the story would fall apart.
Absolutely. I agree with you, and sorry to interrupt you, but that, again, is something that I look for in movies, because, and that's why I'm currently, that's another discussion, but I'm not on board with the golden age of television, in air quotes, because that is movie making, a story told through cinematography, through sound, through design. Everything else is literature, and as I said earlier, the story is in no way surprising. You know everything pretty much from the beginning that would happen to these characters. You know that this Swedish guy is kind of a shady guy, and there's something bad happening to all these people. But the way that the story is told made it exciting to me, and that is in the cinematography and everything else.
All the ingredients coming.
You guys are saying everything that I've written down.
Which I totally agree. But if we're breaking it down to the very bottom points, were you guys happy with the ending, and was the story that engaging for you? Because, yes, I loved this movie, but I loved it visually. Did I find the story to be anything amazing?
But
Not really.
To me, that is the question, am I excited by the script, or am I excited by what they made of the script?
But Hereditary was a home run because it did both well.
Yeah, I agree with Boozy on that. I agree with you on that 100%. And I know that we said we're not going to compare the two, but that's what this episode has become.
Yep.
But I'm with you that
this is an
I think
unofficial Ari Aster.
I think it's impossible not to talk about the one without the other. And I agree that I think that Hereditary is like a by far superior film to this, but while I didn't love this movie, there were moments of it that I really loved. And I hate to bring this up because we are recording in front of a live audience, and we have my girlfriend right beside us cooking a meal right now.
Like
she's
5 feet.
Yeah, we're in my kitchen for the second time in podcast history, and she's cooking. And I'm going to talk about how the first like 15, 20 minutes of this movie really, really bothered me, and it really shook me because at the core of this movie, it starts off about a bad failing relationship, and it's something that hurts to watch. And if anyone has been in a situation like that where you have just watched a love or a connection die, it's going to affect you. And that's where I was like on board with that. And then it was followed up by her sister's suicide, which she also killed her parents. And it's like, and I thought it was just like, I actually like, I don't know if Courtney even knows this because I think she was watching the movie, but this is one of the most times this was a time where I was so uncomfortable, where I was actually like, I don't know if I can do this, because it was really hurting me to watch because it triggered me in a lot of ways. And I really connected with the characters, and I understand the situation. And the suicide I thought was so elaborate. That is actually what snapped me out of it and made me see the light. Is like I started laughing at the suicide because it was so dark and surprising, like very much comparable to in Hereditary when the little girl gets her head knocked off. There's been 3 times in cinema history where I've gone to movies where I have held my face and tried pulling my face off and didn't notice until a couple seconds later that I was doing it, where I was like holding my hands, I was pulling my face down, and that is in Midsommar during the cliff jump. The cliff jump.
Story 3.
Yeah, no, that's not even it. The cliff jump.
The conveyor belts.
Yeah, dude, that's right. What
I mention that all the time.
Hereditary, the head, when that came off, that genuinely surprised me. The Midsommar thing didn't surprise me. It was the sheer graphicness of it.
Of the cliff jump?
Yeah.
The impact.
The impact and watching her bounce, and then how they kept showing it. I'm like, I was holding my face. I'm like, what?
And real quick on that. What I thought even was almost more disturbing was when they showed the far away shot when the guy jumps and lands on his feet.
Yeah.
And I was so far away, and all you hear is like...
And you know he's not dead from the jump.
Yeah.
And so that makes it even more disturbing.
Yeah, like that really bothered me.
Toothpaste man.
And then Mother, I spent most of the movie doing that, like holding my face. So that's Ari Aster has done that twice. He's 2 for 2 in his movies. Diego knows about this, I don't know if you guys do, but I follow a YouTube movie reviewer named Chris Stuckman, and I watched his review after I'd watched the movie, and I normally agree with him, but I think that Chris Stuckman didn't understand the movie at all. Like, there's been a lot of people who I know, and even Courtney has watched most of his videos with me, and like whenever we watch his reviews, and she was getting mad because for Courtney this is a 4.5 out of 5 movie. Like, it's a damn near perfect movie. She loved it, and I'm so happy about that. For me, it's the more I think about it, the less I like it. And I think it's just because there's so much there, and I didn't get a lot from the amount of what it was. I was missing, I felt like I was 2 steps ahead of the movie at all times. Again, I think I'm an idiot, so I don't think that I'm smarter than this movie. I just think it's so clearly an ode to The Wicker Man. So having The Wicker Man semi-fresh in my head and being a movie that I genuinely love, I see all of the comparisons, and I see it like... I feel like Hereditary, I'm sorry to keep doing like what we said we're not going to do, but Hereditary surprised me at almost at every corner. On repeat viewings, I was like, oh, they were giving me answers the whole way through, but I just didn't see them. So once again, like you had said, my experience probably could be completely different with Midsommar if I saw it first. But I felt like I was 2 steps ahead of the movie. I knew exactly from the moment that they went, and the moment like the Swedish friend he showed, he's like, this was our Midsummer Queen or whoever she was.
The May Queen.
May Queen, 100%. It's Florence Pugh, 100%. And like I'm sure most people felt that way.
Or even when they're in the apartment right before the scene where she goes in the bathroom, the way he looks at her and he's like, "I'm really happy you're coming." Now.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Oh, and he was drawing a table, was he not? What was he
Yeah,
drawing?
he was drawing a table with limbs on it.
Yeah.
That's why I leaned over to
Yeah.
Courtney and also, but after like when the main credits came in, that's when I snapped out of it and I was like, okay, we're in a horror movie and I'm gonna have a fucking great time being miserable. And I leaned over to Courtney and I'm like, I'm so fucking excited for this because it's just like that's Ari Asters' move is where he's gonna devastate you. And I think that while Boozy said that it didn't really come back to it, how she had poisoned her family and herself, I think that doesn't matter. I think that the point of the movie is grief, which we have seen before already in Hereditary, but I think that they got the point of grief across loud and clear, and I think that was what he was trying to do. It just so happened to be it was a pretty theatrical way to kill themselves, or kill herself and her family.
So, like, one of the most, like, aggressive suicides I've watched.
I admire it, though, because I've thought about... No, I'm just kidding. No, it
so
was...
Grandpa died.
Why?
No, it's serious.
Oh, God. Why was the guy in the chicken coop? And then they never really came back to that.
Oh, the guy with like the lugs?
Yeah, they just strung him up in the chicken coop. Was that part of a ritual, or did they just feed him to the chickens?
And his lungs were still moving.
Yeah, that like I thought something was gonna come from that.
So the thing for me, though, is
He's a
that
human chicken coop.
it was the storyline that was lacking for me, but I think that the star of the movie is the directing and the editing and the cinematography, because it is without a doubt a gorgeous movie to watch. And like Andi had said before, what I was going to mention is that transition shot from the hotel or the condo where she's talking to the Swedish guy and he's talking about how he lost his parents as well, and you think she's going to the bathroom, and it transitions into the airplane.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, okay, so here's the thing is, she was really, really good in this movie, but I think people are getting a little carried away. She was, if you want to see people cry on command, Courtney.
This is your big opportunity.
She could be just as impressive.
Yeah.
All
All our listeners could see you crying.
Yeah, no, but she could make the noise.
I can do it on command.
Yeah, no, but like she was really good, but I think once again to compare it to Hereditary, as I shouldn't. She's no Toni Collette. She was good. She had a really good pouty face. I really liked her pouty face. Good, she did that frequently.
Or confused. Always confused.
But I felt like the movie, the artistic side of it, like the visuals were so far ahead of the storytelling that it took me out of it a little bit. It kind of reduced itself to a slasher in some ways. I know it's not a slasher, but like how these characters, I was getting frustrated with why they would stay. And I'm like, okay, so two of them want to write a thesis. Okay. And one of them is and one of them just wants to party and get laid, and that's why they get rid of him first, because they're like, this guy has the least reason to stay, and he also doesn't see the dual suicide, so he has more reason to stay. So I understand that he did his best at making it believable why these people would stay, but it really bothered me seeing them, like, after I was so into this movie, and as it kept going, I kept getting pulled out by it, because I know I'm a horror fan and I should accept that people are going to make stupid decisions. But these are university students who keep on taking drugs that have never worked out right. Yeah. And they keep doing it over and over and over again. Well, even their friends are disappearing, and they're just okay with it. And they're like blaming their friends for disappearing. And I think
that's because the Swedish people kept distracting them. Like every time they're like, where did so-and-so go? They're like, let's make some pies.
But even near the end though, like Christian, like the boyfriend, like, she goes and gives him the drug water, and it looks like he's about to not do it. I thought he was going to pour it out, and he was going to like have this epiphany and be like, we got to get out of here. But then he drinks it anyway. I was like, why did you do that? You knew something was going to happen.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite moments in the movie was an ode to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
And that is with
wearing Mark's face.
Well, not only that, but the child of incest who is deformed clubs him with like he's taking, and that's another thing, he's taking pictures of this book, like
they said don't take pictures of the book. He's like, okay,
he freaked out about it. And I know that's what it's a horror movie, but at the same time we've seen so much like this movie. It's kind of like what was that one movie where A Quiet Place, and I know this bothers you and it bothers the Eerie guys, where it's like Mitch is pointing out fucking plot holes in a horror movie like A Quiet Place, but I'm like, it's set up so realistically. And there is so much realism to MIDSOMMAR as well, and it's just Ari Asters style, where it doesn't feel like it's in a universe that can cheat like that, and where there would be someone dumb enough to be like, oh, my friend's already disappeared. I'm going to sneak into this room and take pictures of this book that he freaked out about me not wanting me to read. So that bothered me a little. But then I loved when he clubbed him, and then he was wearing Will Poulter's face. I was like, that is like the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre nod I've seen in a long time, because it's clearly that, and I love that.
No, that's an extremely right point, is that if we're watching a Jamie Blanks movie and something happens that wouldn't happen because it's a Jamie Blanks movie, you go, okay, it's a Jamie Blanks movie, that's fine. We're in this universe where these sort of laws can be bent, whereas you're looking at an Ari Aster film and going, that's not, you can't do these certain things.
No,
do you think that sometimes we put directors on
a pedestal
after one movie? So they made one great movie and we expect them to be the greatest directors we've seen in years, and then they make another movie and we realize, yeah, well, maybe it's a one-hit wonder. Yeah. And I don't think that he's a one-hit wonder, because I connected with his new movie more than with the first movie. But I feel like sometimes Sofia Coppola was one of these cases where everyone was so crazy about Sofia Coppola, and she's so great. So how many great movies has she done,
dude,
actually?
I agree with you, but where I think that, like, I think everyone's point is valid, but where I think that I'm raising a valid point is that the first 50 minutes to an hour of this movie was like airtight, where I didn't see, like, where like those little things started to show, because it was like, when you're doing something so fucking flawlessly and well, it's gonna stick out to me when that happens. But I think that this one was pretty glaring, and I know that I'm putting him on a pedestal and everything, but I think it's because everything about it was so good, and then those little things started to irritate me, because I'm a dickhead moviegoer who wants the perfect I want Hereditary every single time. I think Hereditary is a movie that is so less believable than Midsommar, and I felt like he covered his tracks. I can't think of faults in that movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you can't fault this to somebody else. You can't say like, oh, that's a product of maybe the script not being up to par in certain areas. These are all his idea from start to finish. This is the guy who wrote, directed his own films. So and obviously he knows what he's doing, because we've seen him do it before. So the small things that we are pointing out are things that we can talk about, because this isn't a movie where it's like, oh, it's an hour and 30, so we didn't have enough time, or that sort of thing. Like, you know, maybe we didn't get enough of a certain scene. This movie was very long for usual movie standard, especially for horror movies and specifically. So you should be able to take care of those things, because you also look at, if we tally this on a board, you go, here's your kill count as well. There's room for you to take care of these things.
Well, that, and I think it's the substance that's the problem. Is that, okay? So, and here's where I'm going to lose everyone who just adores this movie. Is that this is like maybe the first time I'm saying this about a movie. I felt it was too long, and I know that a lot of people didn't feel that, and I think that's awesome. Hopefully, on a rewatch on my couch at home, I'm going to change my mind, because I'm going to be more comfortable, and like you said, it's the circumstances that you see it, and I'm more than willing to admit that I'm probably going to like this more on a rewatch. But it is one where I just, like, by the final act, I was just like, I don't even care what happens, you guys. I want to get out of here. I'm over it.
Light the bear on fire.
I'm of the school that movies under 90 minutes are the better movies, and I did not get that feeling with this movie.
Awesome. There's been so many times where
obviously, I had a different experience than some of you. I did not have all these questions. I did not feel like I had more.
Well, we're intellectuals.
Didn't have enough answers after the movie. I like movies that leave questions open, that do not answer everything. And as I said earlier, I had no problem with the script being kind of light, because I was so enamored with the cinematography and everything else with the movie, which is more interesting to me than just story, because story is literature and not movie making. Again, golden age of television. So yeah, I mean, that's just a different experience that probably stems from what you bring with you when you go into the movie. Not being the biggest fan of Hereditary, and not expecting another Hereditary from this movie. This just, to me, is the one that I probably will rewatch. At some point I will rewatch.
I think we can all say that we rewatch,
but I really like that one.
I'm saying there's like almost a 0% chance. As much as I'm, and also like I've said before on the podcast, if I'm really critiquing something like this, but also loving it, it means that I'm critiquing it so hard because I love it. And I guarantee this is going to be in my top 10. Like, I guarantee it. And like, while I didn't like, I don't even know where I'm getting it here. It's like, I get where you're coming from. That like, here's the, sorry.
I think your expectations were higher. But
but
because I didn't have any expectations because I didn't really like Hereditary.
But I was in love with it the first hour.
I wasn't even sure if I would watch MIDSOMMAR, so I had no expectations at all. I didn't see any reviews from friends, so I had no idea how you guys or David or whoever.
I was in love with it for an hour and a half, though. Like that's the thing is like while I had some expectations, I swear that I truthfully mean this. That I did not expect this to be better than Hereditary, or I didn't expect Hereditary again. But honestly, what I got was pretty damn close to Hereditary because he was trying to do the same things. And I think that's why there's so many similar things about this movie, like because the whole theme is grief. And
so you heard David mention it on Eerie, and I had talked to David about it before we recorded the latest Eerie episode. Because he said that he was surprised that Ari Asters is going for the grief story again. Yeah, and then I jokingly said, he might become the Wes Anderson of horror movies. And then he said that he thought about it. He just didn't want to say it because Wes Anderson, he does have a style. He makes more or less the same movie over and over again. I haven't seen all of his movies, but I would assume that his later movies aren't worse than his earlier movies, but because you have seen 3 of them, the 4th and the 5th, they don't feel as fresh as the first one.
So many people are always going to be like, Rushmore is best.
And now with Ari Asters, we only have 2 movies so far, though his next movies might end up completely different.
And I hope so.
We do not know that, but I totally agree these movies are close in themes and topics. The grief theme's just too big to ignore in both the movies, and I'm kind of also stylistically, especially as I said earlier. I think I said earlier that the ending of MIDSOMMAR gave me huge a vibe of the ending of Hereditary. I even thought that maybe these cults are connected. Who knows?
Yeah. I think they are too.
I think they are too.
Yeah, I think there's
the
like
extended Hereditary universe.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, and I hate when people like talk about lengths of movies and being like it was boring because of this. So I'm contradicting myself again, but I couldn't help it. I felt that this was too long, but also I can acknowledge that there wasn't a scene in the movie where I was like, that has no purpose being here. I think every scene was purposeful, but like Boozy said, some of them went on longer than they needed to.
It is taunting.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the art house scene.
Okay, do I really need to watch Swedish people sing for that long?
Yeah, but then you watch The Wicker Man, and it's seriously 70% people sing. Like, that's an exaggeration, but a large portion of it is people singing, and it's like, it kind of adds to the movie's charm.
It's an endurance test.
Yeah.
Okay, but if we're looking at it as... Sorry, this is to go back to a point that we had long passed, but I need to go back to it before we're done. You're looking at... This is the new generation of horror directors. We have Ari Aster. We have, like, Jordan Peele.
Mike Flanagan, that shirt-wearing motherfucker.
Mike Flanagan, Jennifer Kent, Robert Eggers. You have all these people... And you're looking at it as when I watch Jordan Peele's movies, as much as I'm not like the hugest fan of any of his movies, I think they're all awesome. I'm not going to say that they're my favorites ever. But when you look at those and all the things that he plants, by the end of the movie, they come full circle and you see why each of those things are planted. That's why I have a problem when you...
I don't think he did that in Us.
I don't think
he
covers a ton of stuff in Us.
But the thing is, I think he's also biting out. Like that's like a whole new conversation. Because I think that I loved Us, but I think he bit off so many different things, and he answered like 3 of them.
Okay,
but that's I felt like everyone's going to be
all
different.
The questions I had were all answered. Whereas I'm looking at MIDSOMMAR, and it leaves me wanting more. But at the same time, I don't want a 3-hour movie out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if you're going to be a little bit repetitive. There's no way I'm gonna not sound like a dickhead if I keep talking about this because at the end of the day I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I will buy it the day it comes out and I'll rewatch it. But it's something like I definitely liked it. But I think I'm more critical about things that I really like because they could have been better for me. But I'm fully admitting that is just my expectations and what I wanted from a movie, and that isn't what is scripture. That shit, that's my fault for wanting the movie made for me. That's so narcissistic to be like, make this movie for me. But there are answers that I didn't get in this movie. And it didn't fully connect with me in the end. But I did think it was there was enough stuff in this movie to fully recommend it to people. I loved, like, the violence is pretty fucking brutal. I was genuinely shocked at, like, the level of violence, but I was shocked by nothing in the story. That's where I'm at.
Also, I just want to say to all my homies out there, this movie portrayed homies in a bad light. We're not that bad. We're not all that evil. Some homies are good homies.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with him.
Yes.
Sometimes you date a girl that's a little cray-cray.
Yeah.
And but we put up with it.
Oh, that's what you mean.
You know, sometimes you just want to go and take bong rips, and maybe other people don't approve of that.
Will Poulter seemed like kind of a dickhead, but at this, like, because he was like, he really didn't want her to come. I understand it, but also, if your homie's in love, your homie's in love. I guess he wasn't really in love though.
No,
no.
He just wanted to hang with his homies.
He barely wanted to be in that.
He didn't even. He wanted to break up with her before.
The only reason why he didn't is because her family died.
Okay, like, I'm 8 beers deep, so. Yeah, I don't know. Midsommar. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Andy, you do not rate stuff on Letterboxd. Give it a rating right now.
I rated 17 Swedish bears out of
Swedish bears or Swedish berries?
bears.
Oh,
Out of fuck you.
All right, we don't need to rate it. I was trying to, because Andy never rates movies on Letterboxd, so I wanted to get it.
Bears out of fuck you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was super fun. Obviously, like today, I was like, yeah, Andy, we'll record the episode. It's going to be like an hour and a half one because we all want to hang out and everything. I don't know how long this was.
Just over 3 hours.
We just hit 3 hours.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
3 hours and 2 minutes. 3 hours and
I'm
3
not
minutes.
surprised.
Thank you so much for being on, Andy. Thank you for traveling
Thank you
here
for
just
having
for
me.
this. I'm sure you're going to hear from Andy again on
plug your
Thursday.
podcast.
Of course, now you will come to Germany when Ari Asters releases his next movie to record
yes.
with us. Yeah, Eerie International. You can go to eerieinternational.com, which will take you to fanofmedia.com, our page on their page, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just search for Eerie International, and shout out to my co-host David from the US and Dave from England.
Double D.
Yeah, or as you call them, British Dave and American David.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me.
No.
It was a blast.
And
What-
your other podcast.
That's all it is.
I don't even know what's up with that one actually at
Oh.
this point. So
Check out John
as
Solis and
far as I know, currently you cannot reach the website. Currently you cannot reach the episodes on iTunes, and my co-host
You've
doesn't
been
talk
redacted.
to me. So I have no idea what's going on with the other podcast. So it's no reason I'm mentioning it. Do I
Never-
get to choose a song?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, you sure do. What Rammstein song would you like?
No, if you can, you could play the Ear International music. If you cannot play the Ear International music, I don't know. if that
Is
works.
it on YouTube?
Probably not. Then Accept Crime by Alexis on Fire, because we're in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy's a homie. All right, we'll see you guys next week, or a couple days, where we're going to be talking about Crawl with our friend Lana from Boston. I'm sure Andy's going to make an appearance because he's going to be on the couch. And hopefully it's not going to be a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening, and stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Bye.
And check out the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. Okay, bye.